Hey everyone, so this is Maturity Hour. We're back with our Rivals of Ixalan limited set review. So right off the bat, we're going to start with Mythic Rares and Rares in all colors. So we're just going to go in Wuriburg order, and we're just going to just rate them with a letter grade and just slightly talk about, when you would want to play it, when it would be best played, that kind of a thing. My name is Parker Martin.
I'm Michael Loy.
My name's Allison.
And I'm Desmond Thackeray.
All right, so let's just start with Rares and Mythic Rares in white.
Awesome. So first up we have Trapjaw Tyrant. It's a 2 white, 3 colorless, and it is a 5/5 with Enrage. Whenever Trapjaw Tyrant is dealt damage, exile target creature an opponent controls until Trapjaw Tyrant leaves the battlefield. Tell me how hard this makes your dick in 3 words or less. Michael.
Very hard. I love this card. I'll always play it. You just have to be worried about, a lot of the removal in the set. This could backfire, but if I open a pack and this is in it, I'm probably going dinosaurs, and I'll even throw it in a vampire deck. I love the card. What about you, Parker?
I think it's really good. If I were to assign like a letter grade to this, I'd probably give it just a solid A. Mainly because this can backfire. We were talking earlier off the mic about this, that obviously the sooner you can get it onto the battlefield, the better. But you also have to be cognizant of the fact that if this thing is removed somehow, I'm pretty sure that there are ways to deal 5 damage. Let's say post-combat that your opponent casts that bombard. Let's say that you haphazardly ping it once during your opponent's turn, and then they play a sorcery speed, deal 4 damage to target creature. You will, not only lose Trapjaw Tyrant, but all of those exiled creatures are going to come back on your opponent's board, which might really mess you up if you're not careful about it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It really depends on the colors that you're facing against. If you're facing against red, you have to be very careful with this card because of that exact reason, the Bombard card. So being a little careful with the swings, maybe, that's all you really have to do. The thing about this is, of course, you have to deal damage to it as well. So against red, it's a very volatile card to have, but still, a 5-mana 5/5 is very good. The Enrage trigger is amazing, so you just have to be careful what you're exiling. You just don't want some huge ETB trigger coming back. Other than that, it is still a very playable card.
Yeah. Anything else that you guys want to add about this?
I'm good.
All right. Awesome.
Okay, moving on. So we have Zitalpa Primal Dawn. That's a 2 white, 6 colorless, 4/8 with flying, double strike, vigilance, trample, and indestructible. Let's start with Desmond.
So this card reminds me a lot of Akroma. It has a lot of the keywords that she has, minus some protection from colors and stuff. But out of all the primals, this is my least favorite, but it's still a very good card. Late game, this is going to win you the game. I don't think there's really much of a way to deal with this card. Especially there's that one white spell that says exile a creature with power greater than your life total.
Yeah.
So this card really avoids that because it's 4 power, but it's double strike. So you're getting a lot of value out of that. They have to be really low at that point to exile this. So it avoids a lot of the exiling effects, and it's definitely really playable. But you still have to wait for 8 mana, so it's going to take a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a lot of exile effects though that do affect this. There are, and even outside of the exile effects. Pious Interdiction will deal with this. That other card, 3 mana in white that we looked at yesterday, will also deal with this. A target creature can't attack or block. There are ways that people can deal with this for less mana that are in common and uncommon. So you got to be cognizant of that fact. People are going to have those cards in their deck. You're going to want to bait those cards out.
And that's the thing. Yeah, with that 3 mana can't attack or block spell. This is 8 mana, right? So they're most likely going to cast it earlier on when you have some other dinosaur that they want to worry about. The only time I could see them enchanting the creature with that card is if they know it's in your deck, game 2 or 3. And by that point, hopefully you have Naturalize or something. But it is still possible that it could be pacified and, then you spend 8 mana for no reason, for sure.
I would probably give this a letter grade of A or A-.
I give it an A minus.
Yeah, just because it's pretty expensive in terms of its CMC.
B plus for me. It is expensive, and it's going to feel bad when it gets it gets hit with removal.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so next we have Bishop of Binding. It's a 1 white, 3 colorless, 1/1. When Bishop of Binding enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Bishop of Binding leaves the battlefield. Whenever Bishop of Binding attacks, target vampire gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the power of the exiled card. And Parker.
It's. I think this could do you favors, but the setup seems pretty tricky when you consider that it costs 4 and it has a body of 1/1. So like even if you do get it out on turn 4 and you exile a large creature that will take optimum advantage of its second triggered ability, it's still easily dealt with when you consider how much like mass damage even in the Dinosaur and Rage colors, but also with some like black and some other sort of combat tricks too. Like could you imagine like losing this to Swashbuckling? You're gonna be mad.
Yeah, there's
And-
also that -2/-2 to all creatures that will destroy this pretty fast. Even if you have the Lord outright, still only the 2/2. So
Yeah. So I would probably give this like a C- to a D+ personally. Like what do you guys think about this?
I think it has a little bit more utility than that. You're going to want to play this after you bait out removal, like we were talking about with the Talpa. And I think this coming out late game after both parties have exhausted their removal spells, and your opponent drops their bomb, and then it's going to feel pretty bad for them when you play this, exile their bomb, and then swing in with this every turn as a 6/6, 7/7, 8/8. That's just my opinion. I would give it higher than a C-. I would maybe I'd maybe give it a B-.
I'm also forgetting about those double mana, those really cheap lords.
Yep.
That would
Yep.
like give this a pretty decent buff.
There's
And,
also that
yeah.
cheaper Mark of the Vampire that would work on this as well.
Yeah.
I could see this, if played correctly, winning games for you.
yeah, it doesn't have to be played on tempo. Like you said, it can be played at any point in the game, and it's pretty strong. Being able to buff one of your vampires that has lifelink or something like that, getting your life back to where it needs to be or whatever.
Well, the only thing is you have to attack with this every turn.
Yeah.
So
No, I know.
I would buff this creature and then attack with this creature just so it doesn't get chumped by a smaller creature on their board.
Right.
Would you really buff itself? Like I would be more inclined to use its triggered ability on another vampire, because if this thing trades or gets killed by some kind of a combat trick that just says destroy target attacking creature, you're gonna lose the exiled card, right?
Yeah, but you're gonna lose it anyway if you swing in with a 1/1 and they decide to block with any another 1/1 or a 2/1.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
There are a lot of flying vampires though that I would love to buff with this thing. So like I could see just swinging once with this, knowing it's going to die, but giving one of your flyers a big buff.
Yeah, for like an alpha swing or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, fair enough. Next we have Paladin of Atonement. It's a 1 white, 1 colorless, and it's a 1/1. At the beginning of each upkeep, if you lost life at last turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Paladin of Atonement. When Paladin of Atonement dies, you gain life equal to its toughness. Let's start with Michael.
I like this card a lot. You get it out early, and you're going to want to be cognizant, once again, of removal. It is only a 1/1, but there are a lot of vampire abilities within the set that that costs life. So if you can get one of those on the board and ping your reliably ping yourself, it's going to be a great card. And also, it's going to be a great card if they have. It's going to stop red in its tracks. Red's not like a aggro deck isn't going to want to swing in with their early creatures. If you have this out on the board and you just let them all through, it's just going to keep making this thing bigger and bigger and bigger. I like it for 2-drop. I would give it a B+, even an A-.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely has a B+ or an A- rating. Obviously, easily removed early on, but if you get it out early in the game, it's definitely gonna it's going to stop them from attacking you, or you're going to love the fact that they're attacking you. So it has a lot of benefits.
Yeah, so you would definitely be using this with the Bloodfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just to, it's almost like a life bank.
It doesn't even say, being dealt damage. It says life loss. So there's a lot more ways to, finagle that yourself. Losing life with the Bloodfast, or I think there's some other cards where you pay life and mana to draw a card.
And if you're playing
Other than
against
the
this,
Bloodfast.
if you're playing against this, and this thing does manage to get up to a 4/4 and a 5/5, make sure you use one of your exile spells to get rid of it to avoid the trigger word.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
And so just keep that in mind, and your opponent should keep that in mind as well. Because if they manage to exile this, you're going to avoid the life gain.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next, we have Radiant Destiny. It is a 1 mana, 2 colorless enchantment with Ascend. So if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing for the rest of the game. As Radiant Destiny enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. As long as you have the city's blessing, they also have vigilance. Let's start with Desmond.
So this card, I like it, and I also don't like it. It's basically a worse Always Watching. However, Always Watching was 2 white and 1 colorless, so this is a little easier to cast. Ascend is, of course, pretty easy to attain in these colors if you're playing tokens, so you can definitely get there. It's definitely not a bad Anthem effect if you're playing vampires. Other than that, I don't really care for this card outside of that, so I'd probably give it a B-, just because it only has like 1 tribe where you want to play this, in my opinion.
Well, couldn't you hypothetically use this in, like, if you went 3-color, like, Naya Dinos too? Like, because of that, because of the fact that you mentioned that it's, like, easier to cast than something like Always Watching with a double whiteness cost, like, I think this is splashable.
Oh, definitely. I just feel like the Ascend trigger is only going to be super beneficial in the vampire deck.
Yeah. That's a good point. So, maybe C+.
I give it a B-. Like, it's still
Okay.
a decent card.
There are certain dinosaurs that I would love to play this with. There is a gold Triceratops type dino that is a 2/2, and whenever it takes damage, it gets 2 counters. Getting that out as a 3/3 allows it to trade with a lot more without dying to get those counters. There are certain cards that this would be really, really good with in the dinosaur tribe, especially if you plan on pinging your dinosaurs a lot for the enrage triggers.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So for a 3 mana Anthem, I would rate it a little bit higher. I think I would want to play this in dinosaurs. I would give it a B or a B+.
Yeah, well, just in furtherance to the like point about draft and in any sort of a limited play environment, you normally don't want to field a lot of these like non-creature spells that aren't going to be or have a like large and immediate effect on the actual board. You wouldn't want to field this in your deck over hard removal. So like that's probably what's like informing Desmond's like B- kind of like rating on it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, so we have Slaughter the Strong. It's a 2 white, 1 colorless sorcery. Each player chooses any number of creatures he or she controls with total power 4 or less, then sacrifices all other creatures he or she controls. Michael, what if you are non-binary? Go. I'm just kidding. What do you think of this card?
Okay, so this is going to feel pretty bad if you're playing dinosaurs. That's all. It's a great card to play versus dinosaurs, and I wouldn't play it against any other tribe. I against dinosaurs, it's a sideboard card, and I would rate it pretty highly. I'd rate it, maybe a B or a B+ versus dinosaurs. Against any other tribe, don't play it. It's garbage.
So you choose any number of creatures so long as all of the chosen creatures equal total power 4 or less. Like I'm a
That's
little
correct.
confused on the wording of this because like I think you could interpret it like 2 ways.
Okay, yeah, no.
Does that mean that you can like let's say like choose like 8 creatures and they all have 4 or less, or is it like
No, it has to be like you could choose 4 1/1s.
I
in
see.
Total. Yeah.
I figured it was that way.
Or
And then
2/1.
so each player chooses those creatures and then sacrifices all other creatures. So this is like this is like forcing people to basically keep their weenies and get rid of their like large tanks essentially.
Yeah. I actually think I'd play this against Merfolk as well. We don't want to forget that Merfolk has a lot of, like, give their
Growth.
creatures with counters. Yeah, growth, basically. So it would make it very hard for them to choose because they'd be able to keep, like, maybe 2 creatures tops. It's a fantastic card to have as vampires. So I wouldn't play it as any other deck but vampires, probably. Unless maybe you're doing some sort of control in white somehow. But yeah, it's really good against dinosaurs and against Merfolk.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mainboard it because you don't want to face vampires and have this card. It's not going to be very effective.
Yeah, this is definitely sideboard tech. The fact that it is sorcery speed sort of makes me want to give it a rating of a C plus to a like B minus maybe. Like
I'd give it a B minus.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Next we have Sphinx's Decree. It's a 1 white, 1 colorless sorcery. Each opponent can't cast instant or sorcery spells during that player's next turn.
Yeah, so you could cast this on your turn in your second main phase or your first main phase, but they can still cast instants on that turn. And then when it becomes their turn,
Then they can't cast during their turn. I see. Okay.
It's a bit of an awkward card.
Yeah.
If you know they have a lot of sorcery spells like board wipes or something like that, then it's not too bad. But
Can also maybe prevent them from ramping. Like
yeah, it can definitely stop them from ramping for a turn. It's still like I don't think I'd put this in a deck to stop ramp. It's a waste
Yeah.
of a card to
Yeah.
do that really. Like we'll see later, the Sphinx himself does this exact effect. So it's just a flavorful card to have with him, but I don't really care for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to wait to the mid to late game and then cast it, like, what are you really doing? And furthermore, this spell itself can be countered.
Yeah, it relies on having a lot of information before casting this thing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't play it. I think I wouldn't even pick it. I'd give it an F.
I'm gonna say D minus. Like, I wouldn't give it a flat out F.
I want to give it an F, but I'm going to go with a D minus just to be a little bit more lenient.
You guys are the nice teachers. Okay. Next we have Temple Altasaur. It's a 1 white, 4 colorless dinosaur. It's a 3/4. If a source would deal damage to another dinosaur you control, prevent all but one of that damage. Let's start with Desmond.
I like this. I like this a lot. This this really helps if you're playing those Royal effects. Like if you're playing the Forerunner or whatever, and you're pinging your dinosaurs, you're not gonna be too afraid of someone trying to interrupt that. So this is really good for enrage triggers. That mythic, or was it a mythic? The enrage thing that we saw, the first thing.
Yeah,
it was a mythic,
Yeah,
right?
okay. So that was a great card to see with this. This is where you would be able to just exile things nonstop, and you wouldn't really be worried because you're only taking 1 damage on your 5/5 every time something hits it. So.
Now, if you swing in with a dinosaur and they double block, would your dinosaur take 2 damage?
2 damage,
It would
yeah.
take 2 damage. Okay.
Yeah,
Because those are
It's
two
a-
sources.
Two different
Yeah.
sources. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
This is to me a win more card. Like it's obviously it has a fantastic body, and creatures are the most important in like limited games. Yeah, I just think this could almost be like a deck filler, provided that you don't have enough enraged dinos or enough support for that mechanic. So like you don't want to play it all the time. It depends on what you open in the actual pre-release. I don't think this would be like in an actual draft sort of format. Would you pack one pick one this?
I would. It would be hard to pack one pick on it, but even without enrage triggers, this isn't the worst card. Like preventing all but 1 damage is pretty strong. it means that your dinosaurs are going to survive a lot of things, even if you're not getting the benefit of enraged triggers.
I could see some
true.
hilarious combos with this and Star of Extinction and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Deals 20 damage to everything else on the board, but just 1 damage to your dinosaurs. I like that a lot. But the odds of opening both those cards pretty low. I can't wait to put this in my commander deck though.
Yeah, absolutely.
B plus.
Yeah, I give it a B plus. I do like the fact that it's a 3/4. 5 mana is a lot, but it's still a decent card.
So that's everything in terms of rares and mythic rares for white. So let's just go ahead and move on to blue.
All right, so we've got Time Stream Navigator. It's a 1 blue, 1 colorless human pirate wizard. It's a 1/1 with Ascend. So for 2 colorless and 2 blue and tapping it, you can put Time Stream Navigator on the bottom of its owner's library. Take an extra turn after this one. Activate this ability only if you have the city's blessing, which is if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the city's blessing. What do you think of this, Michael?
It's a trap. I'll never play this. I don't like it.
No?
It seems hard to pull off. Like, I mean,
It's 4 mana to activate that ability. Well, I guess, but then you get to take another turn. But then, when you get to play that ability, it's like you're taking only, like 1 turn anyway, because you'd be spending a lot of your mana on that turn.
it's an expensive time walk.
Yeah, well, Time Warp even. Time Warp is
Yeah.
5 mana. This is 6 mana.
Okay.
An even slower 6 mana, right? Because you can't tap it as soon as it comes out to do this.
Yeah, so like even if you got it out like mid to late game, you can still like have it just die and you don't get any value from it.
I would still probably play this card. Honestly, being able to take an extra turn is pretty great, especially in limited. Being able to swing with everything, maybe they block, and then all of a sudden you take an extra turn, they're going to be really taxed after that. So extra turns are always good. I've seen much more expensive extra turn taking than this card. Of course, it's very vulnerable to any sort of removal, but you're not spending too much mana to play this, so it's not going to bother me.
So you better be pushing pirates, and you better have a lot of treasure on the board if you want, if you expect to actually ascend and get the city's blessing.
Yeah.
What would you give this in terms of a letter grade?
I'm going to give it a B minus. Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a C plus, just because like I just think there's a lot of stuff that can kill this thing before you even get a chance to tap it and use its ability.
I'm gonna go a little bit lower. I'm gonna give it a C. I'll try it out once if I'm in blue and I'm pirates, and then maybe even put it in a Merfolk deck. But if it doesn't perform the way I like it to, then I'm just gonna pass it in every pack I get.
Alrighty.
I mean, it does allow you to use it potentially more than once, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
True. Alrighty. We've got Nezahal Primal Tide for 2 blue, 5 colorless. It is an Elder Dinosaur. 7/7. Nezahal Primal Tide can't be countered. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card, discard 3 cards, exile Nezahal, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Desmond, what do you think of this?
I do like this card. The non-creature part of it in limited, you're not going to get too much use out of it because it is 7 mana. So by that point, they've probably cast a couple already. And if they're playing correctly in a limited format, they only have 6 to 7 non-creature spells. However, it's a 7/7 for 7, so just straight value there. It can't be countered, so it's coming down. They can't do anything about that. No maximum hand size. It's a little bit like Jin Kataxis in that sort of sense. The last effect is super good. Discarding 3 cards, exiling it, flickering it back at the end of the turn, can save it. So it's got self-saving abilities. It's a 7/7. It doesn't have any sort of evasion, no island walk, which I don't think they do any sort of land walk anyways anymore, but it can easily be blocked, but it's still a great card to have. I like it a lot. I'm going to give this a B+.
I'm gonna give it a C to a C plus, just because. Well, hold on a minute. This is an actual dinosaur, so it can be cheated out earlier.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, just a solid B for me.
Okay.
The only way I can see this being cheated out earlier is if you're not going trouble, if you're going white, blue control, it might be a good capstone to a Merfolk deck, and you could maybe make the argument there that you might have a drover or two out on the board if you're lucky to help with that ramp. But 7/7 for 7, no evasion, can't be countered, flavor text and limited, no maximum hand size, flavor text and limited. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card, like Desmond said, you're rarely going to get that. And then you have to discard what's more than likely to be half your hand to prevent this from being removed.
Well, remember that you would probably feel this in a deck that has that curiosity sort of a thing, right? And there are a lot of pirates in the blue color that allow you to draw cards whenever certain creatures attack and deal damage to a player with like crazy evasion on them. So I think, like you can make the case that you might not have many cards in your hand when you play this out, but that's not the deck you would put it in.
Oh yeah, in limited there are definitely a few things there that are just kind of moot, but discarding 3 cards just to save the 7/7 is going to be worth it. Late game, limited does tend to go on for a while. Like it's not something that ends on turn 4 or 5 usually, so you should be able to get this guy out if you draw him. The discarding 3 is super useful. You could discard lands, whatever. You can even discard something that you can recur. So.
I would honestly play this in a Merfolk like green blue deck. You know what I mean? Just because of Explore is also going to allow you to draw cards
absolutely.
too.
Yeah, and if they do target this with removal, you automatically draw a card. Mm-hmm. So maybe I'm being a little too critical of this card. I'll give it a B.
Yeah, me too.
Just a side note, I'm going to try 1 or 2 of these in standard. I think this is going to be a great carding control.
Nice.
For sure.
Alrighty. So next we have Admiral's Order. It's a 2 blue, 1 colorless instant with raid. So if you attacked with a creature this turn, you may pay 1 blue rather than pay the spell's mana cost to counter target spell. Parker, what do you think of this?
Could you would raid happen immediately after you declare attackers?
Yeah, so raid triggers as soon as you declare attackers before blockers are declared. Until the end of the turn after you declare blockers. After you've declared attackers, you have that raid trigger.
Oh, I see.
So if they try to do a combat
useful.
trick or anything like that, then this can stop that for 1 blue.
All right.
Yeah.
So would you put this in your main deck?
I would put this in the main deck if I was playing pirates and I'm going fast and I want to attack every turn.
Yeah.
Because this is going to stop them from screwing you over when you try to swing with everything or something like that.
Well, thanks for that clarification. That makes sense now. So this is a pretty decent non-creature spell to put in your main deck if you are pushing for a pirate raid, speed.
Absolutely. And if worse comes to worse, it's cancel. So it's either a 1 mana counterspell or it's cancel at any point in the game. So I like it.
What do you think, Mike?
I always hesitate to put counter spells in my limited decks, but I'll put this in 1 mana to block a combat trick seems pretty useful. There are a lot of pretty decent combat tricks in the format. Like Desmond said, if I'm going pirates, then I'll definitely have a spot for this in my deck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna probably give it a B.
I'm gonna get a B or a B plus. I really like this card. Lots of utility.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Crafty Cut Purse is a 1 blue, 3 colorless human pirate. It's a 2/2 with flash, so when Crafty Cut Purse enters the battlefield, each token that would be created under an opponent's control this turn is created under your control instead.
Huh.
Interesting. Michael, what do you think of that?
I don't know what to think about this card.
Just allows you to steal
a token.
Tokens.
Steal tokens, be they dinosaurs or even treasure, or even vampires.
Yep.
But would you this just seems a little gimmicky.
In limited, I'd be hard pressed to play this.
This
card.
is like I want to send, not you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It does have flash though, which I think is pretty useful.
Well, that's what turns it into that's what allows you to basically steal tokens that your opponent would normally get, right?
And I just at some point I'm going to put this card in every one of my blue EDH decks because I want someone to do Rite of Replication where they get 5 tokens and just be like, nope, I get them instead. So outside of limited, I like this card a lot. Even in standard, it might have a spot in a sideboard, but in limited, it just has too much of a clause. Like you might get 1 token out of it, and it's just not very useful.
Oh, this would be great sideboard tech against Scarab God, God Pharaoh's Gift. I think this does have a place in standard in sideboard against those decks, but yeah, limited no. Limited, this gets a C for me.
Yeah.
I'll give it a C.
It's 4 mana for a 2/2 body with just a really gimmicky like thief effect on it. Like, big deal. Yeah.
Okay, so Release to the Wind is a 1 blue, 2 colorless instant where you exile target non-land permanent for as long as that card remains exiled. Its owner may cast it without paying its mana cost. Let's start with Desmond.
This card is actually pretty great. You're obviously going to exile one of your own things. I don't see there anywhere going to be a time where you're going to do it to a opponent's creatures just so that they can cast it again. So it's definitely a save your own creature kind of deal, or even just you want that ETB to happen twice, or a cast trigger to happen twice.
I could see it most of the time. 99% of the time, you're going to cast it on your own creatures. But say they're swinging in with something, it's going to kill you. I would buy myself a turn with this if I needed to.
At that point, it's a 3 mana fog.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely the utility where you can do that.
I think there are better cards for that purpose, though. Like, for instance, that white, in case of emergency card that would prevent you from dying. Like, I think that would be better than this in that regard. But yeah, obviously, it's always good that your combat tricks and your saving grace sort of cards can be used for more than one purpose. Absolutely. Letter grade.
I'm going to give it a B+, just because I like how you can interact with so many ETB effects with it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Okay, so we have Induced Amnesia next. It's a 1 blue, 2 colorless enchantment. When Induced Amnesia enters the battlefield, target player exiles all cards from his or her hand face down, then draws that many cards. When Induced Amnesia is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return the exiled cards to their owner's hand. Parker, what are your thoughts?
It's pretty gimmicky.
Yeah. It can really mess up someone's opening hand if you can, play it on turn 3. That's totally fine, but you run the risk of, coming into enchantment hate and then your opponent just getting all their stuff back.
And then having card advantage.
Yeah. So this can really backfire on you.
Although it does say target player, which means you can do it to yourself, right?
Yeah.
So if there's any sort of way that you can play with this card, like if there's any sort of draw effects that you can deal with, then this card would be pretty okay. If you're doing something with this where you can actually get rid of it so you can get all those cards back as well, it can definitely have some sort of neat interactions with some cards, but in limited, I don't see it being too viable, but in standard, maybe some sort of gimmicky combo deck.
I don't know. I'd hesitate to use my enchantment hate on myself.
Yeah.
There are exile enchantments. There are arrest enchantments that I would want to deal with first. There's better ways to get card advantage.
Yeah. And knowing my luck, I know this is going to be one of my pre-release, stamped promo cards. I'm going to be really upset about it. Oh, man. So, I definitely don't want to open this in pre-release at all. So I'm going to give it a D-.
All right.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Yeah.
Pretty low. D-.
Next is Kumina's Awakening. 2 blue, 2
that's pronounced
colorless.
Kumena, actually.
Kumina's Awakening. It's a 2 blue, 2 colorless enchantment with Ascend. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card. If you have the city's blessing, instead, only you draw a card. And Michael.
I like this card a lot. I think more cards is going to result in more chances to get Ascend, especially if you're in Pirates. In Merfolk, this is also really good. The only thing is, you'd have to really be pushing for Ascend, because you don't want to keep giving your opponent the ability to draw a card as well. But
To clarify, at the beginning of your upkeep, every player will draw a card. So that
unless
means,
you have Ascend.
yeah. So even if you don't have Ascend, you're getting 2 and your opponent's getting 1. You're still going to have card advantage, but that's pretty expensive, man.
But aren't they? They're drawing a card on your upkeep as well as their upkeep, right?
So effectively, they are drawing 2 cards, but it's just not as they're not drawing 2 at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right, it is expensive, but it's coming down at a time when, card draw is going to start to become important, like hand advantage turn 4, turn 5. If your hand's going to be dwindling by that time, and by the time that you have 4 mana, let's hope that you have a few permanents on the board already, right? You're going to have at least 4 permanents for the mana cost, 5 permanents with this enchantment, and if you have any creatures, you're already approaching City's Blessing. And I think this just will end up winning games for you if you can get it out and get Ascend quickly.
Don't you think that there's also another downside to this, and it's when you're playing green-blue Merfolk and you're using Explore, your opponent can know what you're going to draw, right? Especially if you Explore and you keep it on top, just to give one of your creatures a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah.
They're going to know what you're going to, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't give it anything greater than like a C. Like, this seems like it could mess you up. I don't know.
I like this card because later in the game it's also very useful. Like when you're running out of gas and stuff like that, and you play this card, it might just give you enough gas to win the game. Ascend, we also have to remember that once you get the City's Blessing, it can't go away, right?
Yeah.
So if at any point you get 10 permanents and you're able to Ascend, then you got this card in the bag. So I'm going to give it a C+, because it does have a drawback of benefiting your opponent. But if you can get City's Blessing, then this is a great card.
I give it a B-. I like it a lot. We'll see how it plays out in Limited, and maybe I'll eat my words later.
Probably. Next we have Seafloor Oracle. It's a 2 blue, 2 colorless Merfolk wizard. It's a 2/3. Whenever a Merfolk you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Parker, what are your thoughts?
I like this better than Kumena's Awakening, mainly because it's kind of the same effect when you have a lot of evasive Merfolk as Kumena's Awakening, but it only benefits you, and it's on a stick. It's on a creature. So I would value this much greater than Kumena's Awakening. I would give this a B to a B+. You are paying 4 mana for a 2/3, but this also is a global Merfolk effect. So
Yeah,
if you have a lot of evasive Merfolks, like there are some 1 mana, uncommon rarity, single blue 1/1 unblockables. So this can really mess up your opponent. It's the exact same CMC as Kumena's Awakening, but it's just far better.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like all your Merfolk have Curiosity at this point with this card. It affects itself too. It's not another Merfolk, so that really that's the cat in the bag for me right there, because that is a great card. It's a 2/3 for 4, but it has Curiosity on its own. So even by itself, it's a pretty great card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I still do like Kumena's Awakening. I do like this as
It's
well.
pronounced Kumena.
I do like Kumena's Awakening, please. Okay, guys.
Kimono's Awakening?
I like Kimono's Awakening. Yeah, so the only thing that makes me hesitant about this is it is a creature, and there's still a lot of there's a lot more creature removal in the set than enchantment removal. There is a decent amount of enchantment removal, but I don't know. I do like it better, but I'm just cognizant of the fact that there are a lot of effects that ping. It's only got a 3 body. Yeah, I'll rate it a B to a B+, because like you guys said, Curiosity is a very good effect to have, and Global Curiosity is even better. But I wouldn't rate it higher than that.
I'll give it a B+.
Yeah, me too. B+.
Okay. So we've got Warkite Marauder next. 1 blue, 1 colorless. Human Pirate. It's a 2/1 with flying. Whenever Warkite Marauder attacks, target creature defending player controls loses all abilities and has base power and toughness 0/1 until end of turn. Desmond, what are your thoughts?
I absolutely love this card. As I said in the uncommon and common primer, I love flying creatures, and this is a 2/1 for 2 that can swing basically just all the time. Like if they have a flyer, boom, it's a 0/1 now. It ain't a flyer anymore. So you're gonna be able to swing with this thing almost every turn. And eventually, if they have more than one flyer, then you're just gonna turn something into a 0/1, and maybe just go for the alpha swing. So this card is just all the time good to me. I'm gonna give it an A. I absolutely love this card.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A as well. It's a pretty solid rating. I wouldn't give it an A plus just because it is vulnerable to removal with only one toughness. But yeah, just for the sake of enabling raid and just being able to swing in with impunity, it makes it really, really awesome. This is like the epitome of a good evasive creature.
I would first pick this. I think it's great. I think it also probably has a place in the standard if you're going to build some sort of flyers deck. A blue-black pirate flyers deck with favorable wins or something. I love this card. First pick A, even an A plus. If you get a few flyers out on the board and this is one of them, then you're probably going to win.
I can just imagine opening all of my pre-release packs and lucking out and getting more than one of these and just being so glad.
Oh yeah,
that would be just the icing on the cake. And that's the last rare and mythic rare in blue. So let's move on to black.
Awesome. So first up, we have Tetsimok, Primal Death, 2 black, 4 colorless. It's an Elder Dinosaur, 6/6 with Death Touch. For 1 black, you can, and revealing Tetsimok, Primal Death from your hand, you can put a prey counter on target creature. Activate this ability only during your turn. When Tetsimok enters the battlefield, destroy each creature your opponent's control with a prey counter on it. Parker, what are your thoughts?
This is pretty wicked. You're paying 6 mana for a 6/6 with something you can take advantage of as early as turn 1. So if you do have this in your opening hand, you're probably going to choose to like play second. You know what I mean? Like this is probably one of the only times that you would ever want to do that in a limited game. Choose to be on the draw instead of the play. But wow, like could you imagine just taking advantage of that as early as turn 1 and just having your opponent sweating buckets for the rest of the game?
Yeah, absolutely.
But of course, with that point comes the fact that there are duress-like abilities, and there is a 3 mana sorcery that will allow your opponent to look at your hand and remove any non-land card from it. So that would be a prime target for this creature. However, it's just simply good in dinosaurs. However, how hard is it going to be to cast this if you're going Naya dinosaurs? You better have mana fixing, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I probably wouldn't play this in dinosaurs because I don't want to splash black if I'm going 3 colors already. You have to absolutely rely on having those mana dorks to get there, and it's 2 black, so you need 2 of those dorks. This is good in vampires, to be honest. Like it's not a vampire, but it's a 6/6 for 6 with an amazing ability, where you're not destroying your own creatures at all. You're targeting what you want to destroy. You're only spending 1 mana to do that, so it's really not even a mana sink. This would be a main board in any black deck for me. I would take it out against control, but because they're not gonna have too many creatures, and if they do, they're gonna see you revealing this card, and they're gonna counter it when you play it. So it's just a waste of mana. So that's the only time I wouldn't play it.
I could see a use for that one card we looked at in blue, where you exile the person's hand. If somebody's revealing dinosaurs in their hand every turn, and this is one of them, or if they have Priest of the Awakening Sun, and you see them keep revealing dinosaurs in their hand or certain cards in their hand, that would be a time I could see that you would want to play that blue card.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because they're going to start putting prey counters. I would wait till they have 4 or 5 mana to cast the exile this creature, just so they've been wasting 1 mana a turn putting prey counters on your creature, and then suddenly your hand's exiled. that'll feel really good if I ever get to pull that off. But I don't see. It's just it's very situational. But I do love the card, so I would give it an A- to a B+.
Yeah, I'll give it an A-. Just the card, it's so badass. Look at it.
Yeah.
Everything about it I love.
Yeah, it gets an extra point for sick art.
I wish I had flavor text.
I don't know, like, I think I'm gonna give this like probably like just a B, just simply because it's really hard to cast. But yeah, like you're absolutely right, Desmond. You would play this in Vampires, but it just
Maybe even pirates with treasure.
that's
Yeah,
true.
Definitely.
All right.
Okay, next we have Twilight Prophet, 2 black, 2 colorless, Vampire Cleric. It's a 2/4 with flying and ascend. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is that card's converted mana cost. Thoughts on this, Michael?
Oh boy, I love this card. If you're in Vampires, you're going to have Ascend pretty soon. And once this is out on the board, the 4 body is going to make it hard to remove with any damage effects. And, you know, if just the Ascend ability on it is great. I know there's a little bit of RNG involved there, but I love it. It's a 2/4 flyer for 4, which is good on its own, and it has that ability. And you know, you're going to be gaining life if you're not drawing land, you're going to be gaining life every turn. If you have card draw, oh wait, never mind. It's at the beginning of your turn. Okay, so never mind.
This is card draw.
It is
too.
card draw.
Yeah.
It's card draw without actually being card draw. You know, like you don't actually get a draw effect off of it. You're just putting it into your hand.
Yeah.
So in limited that doesn't matter, but just outside of limited, being able to draw without drawing is actually very important, especially if you're facing Nekuzar in EDH. So I love this card. It's like Dark Confidant or that Orc Pirate, I think it is, that has a raid trigger.
Yeah.
It's like that, but instead of you losing life, you're gaining life and they're losing life. So this card is actually pretty great. Of course, you need Ascend, but a 2/4 flyer on its own is pretty great. So.
I'm just gonna go 3 sheets to the wind here and say A+. Like I don't see this having really that much of a downside. It does have double black in its casting cost, but if you're going Vampires, you're gonna be in those colors anyway.
Yeah, you're never not going to want to play this card.
Yeah, this is A+.
A+.
A for me, just because of the double black. It might be hard to cast. That's the only thing. If you have an unclaimed territory, you're going to want to put that in your deck. That's all.
It's just like card draw is just so important in limited, and you're gonna get 2 cards every single turn. And your opponent's losing life. That's amazing. Yeah.
All right, next we have Champion of Dusk, 2 black, 3 colorless mana. It's a Vampire Knight. It's 4/4. When Champion of Dusk enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of vampires you control. Desmond, where are you at on this?
So I really like this card. You also have to be very careful when playing this, but if you're playing Vampires, you're probably gaining a lot of life, going up and down with your life total. So drawing X cards, like we said earlier, drawing is always important in limited. So one thing I have to always remind people is that life is a resource in Magic, So being able to spend life to do certain effects is really great. I love drawing cards and losing life. I will do that every single time. So this card is a 4/4 for 5. Not amazing. Doesn't have any flying or anything, but it's still a vampire. So I love this card. I give it a A-.
Its effect, you could end up playing it on turn 5 and not having a lot of vampires left due to a board wipe or something like that.
Yeah.
It's 5 mana for a 4/4. Sure, you draw X cards and you lose X life, but like once again, you need to be wide. I wouldn't give it. I would just give it a B+. I don't think I'm going to go into the letter A.
I don't know. It looks good on paper, but you're going to be going for that Ascend trigger with Vampires. By the time you have 5 mana, if they don't have a board wipe, you're going to have the Ascend trigger. You're going to have more than 10 permanents probably on the board, and then if you're at 10 life or lower, you're just not going to want to play this. So I don't know how I feel about the card. I mean, you could do an alpha swing with all your card, lose a few vampires, play this in your second main phase, but like, depending on like how much life you have, it just makes this card unplayable. Especially if you have a lot of vampires and you're going wide.
Yeah.
I'll
What
try
if-
it out,
yeah.
but I'll be hesitant. I'll see how it plays, but I'm hesitant to rate it higher than a B.
You could top deck this and be screwed and not be in a position to play it. Yeah.
I like it personally. I think it's a great card, but I can definitely see where life loss can be dangerous. But again, I think in vampires you have so much life to play with that it shouldn't be too hard to deal with.
Okay, next we have Dead Man's Chest. 1 black, 1 colorless. It's a enchantment. Enchant creature an opponent controls. When enchanted creature dies, exile cards equal to its power from the top of its owner's library. You may cast non-land cards from among them for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast those spells.
This is a really neat enchantment. And I like that you don't actually exile from the top of your owner's library until that creature dies. This is very similar to that Kaladesh, like Aetherborn Lord. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Gonti?
yeah,
Gonti, yeah.
Lord of Luxury, but it's just way cheaper. I think this is, like this isn't bad. However, you better have a way to kill that creature that you actually enchant with this, right? That's the only downside of it.
So
It's pretty situational.
it's situational, but it is a black card, so you probably do have some sort of removal that you're playing with. If this was a blue card, I think it would be worse. But the fact that it's black means that you're probably going to have some way of killing that creature, if you have Tetsamok especially, but there's other kill spells.
There's a lot of kill spells in black, especially in common and uncommon. There's the Chupacabra that we looked at
True.
yesterday. There is Walk the Plank. There is that other removal card that's exactly the same as Chupacabra, but more and the same cost, but you don't get a creature out of it. There is a lot of removal in black. There's the -2/-2 global, but if you're going to play this, you're probably not going to want to play it on a 2-power creature. But there are a lot of ways to simply just destroy creatures. But keep in mind, you're not going to want to use any exile removal on the creature that you play this on, and you're going to want to be hesitant to play this against a blue deck that can either bounce a creature to its hand or temporarily exile their own creature. So it's situational. It's a great card, but just because it has those drawbacks, I'm going to give it a B+.
I'm going to give it an A-. I really like this card. The biggest thing about this is the fact that it doesn't say until end of turn you can cast those cards. It just says for as long as they remain in exile. So if you're exiling something that's big and you get a lot of cards out of it, you can take your time and cast whatever you want out of all those cards.
And that's
so.
going to take a big chunk out of their deck in a late game, too.
Yeah. You're definitely right about blue, though. Like you're going to be careful about playing against blue. Maybe even side out if you see them play any sort of flicker effects. But other than blue, it's a fantastic card.
I think I would just give it a B to a B to a B+. Yeah. Just because it takes up a non-creature spell slot. So, yeah. I wouldn't value it too high. Just my own personal opinion there.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have Dire Fleet Poisoner, 1 black, 1 colorless, human pirate. It's a 2/2 with flash and death touch. When Dire Fleet Poisoner enters the battlefield, target attacking pirate you control gets +1/+1 and gains death touch until end of turn. Parker, what are your thoughts?
This is a really interesting, like, combat trick creature. You're gonna, obviously, use this on a attacking pirate that you have. So this is a way of almost like protecting and punishing your opponent for daring to block one of your raiding pirate dudes. So I think this is really, really awesome to put into any sort of a tribal pirate deck. I'm gonna give it an A- to a solid A.
This gets an A+ from me. It's a 2-mana 2/2 with flash and death touch. It doubles as a removal spell. situationally, if somebody's swinging in against you, you can play this and remove their creature. It's great against anything that doesn't have trample.
No. It's only target attacking pirate you control is going to get that bonus. So
it also has Death Touch.
Yeah.
So
true. Yeah. So it can be a surprise blocker.
Yeah. And so it's not going to do anything against something like Galta, but if they, well, it is going to kill it, but you're still going to take 10 damage unless you're blocking with other creatures. But it's just a great 2/2. I love it.
Yeah, it's a better Ambush Viper. It has a fantastic effect. Like, I would play this card just as a 2/2 flash Death Touch, and then it has that effect on top of that. So it pairs really well with the card that we just saw, Dead Man's Chest. If you were to target that with something, and then if they swing for some reason, or you're attacking, and whatever you enchanted is a big body creature, so they go to block it, boom, that attacking creature now is Death Touch. So it's a fantastic card. I definitely give it an A.
Awesome. We have Mastermind's Acquisition. It's a 2 black, 2 colorless sorcery. So choose one. Search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library, or choose a card choose a card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand. Desmond, what do you think of this?
All right, so I really like this card. It says choose a card from that you own from outside the game. In limited, that means from your sideboard. Actually, in any sort of tournament setting, it means from just your sideboard. However, that's why we have a sideboard in limited. Your entire pool that you're not using is your sideboard. So whatever you're using outside the game, if you see that you need one of those cards, game one, you can get that. But it also has the alternative: search your library for a card, put in your hand. So it's just a tutor at that point. So it has two really good effects. I wouldn't pay 4 for this card if it didn't have both those effects. If it was just one of them, that's way too much mana. I think Demonic Tutor is 4 mana for the first effect, and that's just kind of a bad card on its own. So
pretty expensive for that effect. In terms of a letter grade, I guess I'd give it like a C. Would you really want to play this?
I give it a B minus. Honestly, it's totally dependent on you having sideboard cards that are good against certain decks. Like if you're playing green black, you have Naturalize or something like that. This is a great card. Or any sort of sideboard cards that are going to be good to have game 2 or 3. I'd play this in the main board just for the idea of being able to pull those into your deck, or straight into your hand even. So,
if you were out of color though, this isn't going to fix for you. Like, it's going to go in your hand, but what if you don't have the color of mana to even cast the card that you get?
Well, absolutely. But this doesn't have to be played on curve, right? It doesn't have to be played on turn 4. So I think late game it's a good card. You get to search your library for a card to put in your hand as well. So if you have a big vampire you want to play, or Tetsamok or anything like that, that's just another way to get him out. So I do like this card a lot. I'm going to give it a B. I do like this card.
Even though that you're essentially taking a turn off, like, really?
Yeah. No, like, because of the search your library effect, like, that's just so strong. I think it's worth playing.
I don't know about this card. I kind of agree with Desmond that it's good to have to sub in cards from your sideboard. I would only really play this in game 1 though. Once I know what my opponent is playing, I would just sub this out for the sideboard card that I need. It's useful to have, but I don't know. B minus for me.
I agree with that. I would say depending on if you have a Forerunner or not. Like if you have the Vampire Forerunner, then maybe this isn't so great because you can just use that to tutor for a vampire, and it's only 1 black instead of 2. So I will go with B minus. You're actually correct on that. It depends on you having sideboard cards that you will want in game 1. But if you in fact do have those cards in your sideboard, then this is a great card to have in your main board.
It's fraught with risk. That's all.
Yeah.
So, I think it's sideboard tech in and of itself. So personally, I would probably give it somewhere between a C+ or a B-. Yeah.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to Allison. She got called into work, so we're sad to see her go. But I think Parker will take over. Reading over the cards from here.
All right, so next up we have Tomb Robber. It's a 3 CMC, 1 black and 2 colorless. It's a human pirate. It's a 1/1 with menace. And it has an activated ability of paying one of any color, discarding a card just to let Tomb Robber explore.
So
This is pretty. I think it's pricey at 3 CMC for this.
yeah, that's what I was discussing this with Desmond earlier, and he said this is a first pick for him because he thinks it's an amazing card to get that explore trigger. Half the time with explore you'll be drawing a land, so you'll be replacing the card. However, for 3, I wouldn't put I don't even know if this has a place in my deck. I'd drop it faster than LSV dropped his wife and kid. What do you think, Desmond?
Yeah, no, I do like this card. Yeah, we do see a lot of, 1 damage global effects where this thing would die early on. But for 3 mana, you're getting a 1/1 menace that can end up being a 2/2, a 3/3, etc. Menace is a great mechanic in this set because of how much, how many ray triggers you have, how many enchantments you might want to put on this creature, any sort of combat tricks. So that's why I like this card. It dies early on, but if you can end up getting those explore triggers, this thing will get pretty beefy pretty fast. So it's a scary card to play on turn 3. I'd still probably play it on turn 3 if I had it in my hands, but it's also a decent card to play later on because the explore mechanic there is 1 colorless, so you can spend any mana to do that.
And you also you can play it as soon as it comes out. Yeah. So I could see you playing this on maybe turn 4, playing it for 3, and then immediately getting a pirate that you really, really want to protect, and even sort of like play around someone's discard effects.
Right.
Like you have March of the Drowned, which allows you to recur 2 pirates from your graveyard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that you maybe want to consider doing, although that does seem a little slow and dirtly. If you want to get as many explore triggers as you can, this creature will just get bigger, and then it will kind of come into its own with its own menace keyword.
Yeah, if the mechanic there had to tap the creature, then it'd be an awful card. But the fact that you can just do it as many times as you want, for how many cards you want to discard, is pretty great. You can do one at a time. Draw a card, discard, draw a card, discard. Keep going at it. You don't have to stack them. So I do really like this card.
Because it's 3 mana and it only has a 1/1 body, I'm gonna probably just stay around the C+ to B- letter grade.
I'm good there as well. Maybe even just a plain Jane C for me. I don't really like it.
That's fair. So next we have Vona's Hunger. This is an instant with Ascend. It costs 3, 1 black and 2 colorless. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. If you have the City's Blessing, instead each opponent sacrifices half the creatures he or she controls rounded up. Wow, this is a great payoff if you are going Vampire Ascend. That's a really solid spell, especially if you do it before your opponent or as your opponent enters combat and starts declaring blockers just before they declare attackers. It's a great ambush.
Yeah, the fact that it's instant is the icing on the cake for me. The card would be only okay if it was a sorcery, but this card is actually amazing. I like it a lot.
I'm gonna give it a B+ to an A-. Sorry, scratch that. A to an A+.
I'm gonna give it an A- just because the Ascend trigger is pretty important. And if you don't get that, then you're sacrificing 1 creature, and it's their choice. So that's where it can be a downfall. But it's a good card.
Let's say that you were going up against an opponent that was going into like a go tall sort of like dinosaur strategy. Like let's say they only had 1 creature,
or even like somebody that's playing Merfolk, but is more focused on buffing with counters a smaller amount of creatures instead of going wide.
If your opponent has a choice, they're not going to choose the bigger creature in that.
Yeah, but if you have the Ascend trigger and they only have 2 Merfolk on the board, they're sacrificing both of them.
No, half the creatures.
Half, sorry. Yeah, never mind.
It's a good card if I think they're going wide. If they're going tall, then it's just going to be hard to actually get them to to exit or sacrifice that creature unless you're bullying them across the table. You know.
And speaking of across the table, Two-Headed Giant is going to make this card even better.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, around a middle A, I guess, for me.
Yeah. I mean, if it was Two-Headed Giant, I'd give this an A+. That's very good against two people.
That's it for black. We're going to move on to red now. So starting with Rekindling Phoenix, this is a 4-mana double red, 2 of anything, 4/3 flying creature, and it reads: when Rekindling Phoenix dies, create a 0/1 red elemental creature token with. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this creature and return target card named Rekindling Phoenix from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste until end of turn. This is really cool. That's a really interesting mechanic. So this essentially allows you to, when it dies, it creates a 0/1 red elemental that allows you to, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice that token just to get this back on the battlefield to give it haste. So this is a difficult card to get rid of.
It's actually not that difficult. One thing that at first I thought it was a pretty great card too, but it does say that in order to get the Phoenix back, that needs to be sacrificed by its trigger, and it's a 0/1 which dies very easily. So if they kill that, then you're not getting that Phoenix back.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So if this was a 0/3 red elemental token, that would be an A+ for me. It being a 4/3 flyer for 4 already makes it an A- for
it's
me.
a great card on the board.
But being able to recur it situationally, I'd give it a plain A. But you have to just keep in mind there's so many abilities that ping one either across the board, shake the foundations. There are dinosaurs that ping. There's the dinosaur tutor that pings. There are so many different ways to get rid of that red elemental creature token. I think it's going to be killed more times than not, but it's going to feel good when you do get this back on the battlefield. But 4/3 for 4 flying, excellent card, A for me. What do you think, Desmond?
I'm going to give it an A- just because I don't like the elemental. I think that other Phoenixes have a lot better recurring effects.
Yeah.
But on its own, it's a great card. It's just the only reason I'm giving it the A- is just because the trigger itself I think is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's, further to Mike's point, you wouldn't want to really put this in one of your Dino decks because I could just imagine being in a scenario where you have the 0/1 token on the board and it's preventing you from using a Global Enrage because you're gonna. It's basically it has the potential to be an anti-combo in your own archetypes. So I think it's bad against dinos and it's bad in a dino deck. So.
Yeah, your opponent can use that against you too, because if you end up doing Forerunner's trigger while you have this Phoenix, if they go to kill the Phoenix in response to that trigger, this thing will die. You'll get your 0/1, and then the trigger will go off and
Is
it'll die.
Forerunners only when a dinosaur enters the battlefield, or is it when a creature enters the
Dinosaur.
battlefield?
Yeah.
So the elemental, the Forerunner won't go off if the elemental enters the battlefield.
No, but what I'm saying is if this was on the field,
Yeah.
then you played a dinosaur and Forerunner's trigger was on the stack, your opponent could respond to it by killing the Phoenix. You get a 0/1, the Phoenix would never come back because the rival
okay.
trigger going off.
So yeah, I'm gonna give this a B- to a flat B.
I think, again, it is a 4/3 flyer for 4, which is great. It is hard to play it in dinos, but you can play it perfectly in pirates. I think it's great in pirates.
All right, next up we have Atali Primal Storm. This is a 6-mana, double red, 4 colorless, legendary elder dinosaur. It's a 6/6 for 6. Whenever Atali Primal Storm attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. Wow.
This card is ridiculous.
Even more ridiculous in Two-Headed Giant.
Yep.
Although your teammate might not like you, but it's still wow. This is an A+ bomb for me in Two-Headed Giant. Even in just standard, head-to-head limited games, it's also great.
Yeah, and
You're gonna want to give this creature haste.
you can keep these cards like you don't have to cast them that turn. They're exiled, and you can cast them next turn. You know, it's
No, it says then you may. I'm pretty sure you have
Yeah.
to do it when it
Is it- is
triggers.
that-
It's
that-
on the attack trigger, so you
Yeah.
have to do it on the attack
oh,
trigger.
okay. So you know, it doesn't really. This creature doesn't really benefit from haste if you're paying 6 mana to get it out, and then you won't even have the mana to cast most of the cards that turn.
No, it's without paying mana.
without
cost.
paying their mana cost.
Yeah, this card
I'm
is
fucking blind.
ridiculous.
Okay. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I'll-
I think it's
it's A plus.
This is a bomb.
Yeah.
A plus bomb.
because if you're playing dinosaurs, you're gonna be able to play a dinosaur off the top of your deck without paying its mana cost sometimes. So it's pretty great.
And you could even, top deck from their deck a removal spell, cast it on a blocker. So it's just it's really good. Yeah.
They wouldn't have declared blockers yet.
Yeah, exactly. So like you're gonna prevent one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. A plus for me. I love it. Really really good artwork, and it even has really cool flavor text too.
Yeah.
Next up we have Blood Sun. It's a 3 mana enchantment, 1 red, 2 colorless, and it reads: when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and all lands lose all abilities except mana abilities.
So this card, all I have to say is, I'm surprised that a moon is more powerful than a sun. Blood Moon is such a good card.
Yeah.
And this is just awful. Like, the only thing I like about this
It's-
card is
yeah.
drawing. Like, the all lands lose abilities. That's not gonna.
wait. How does this interact with ETB triggers on tap lands? So do those lands still enter the battlefield tapped?
Only mana abilities are going to be gone from these lands.
So yeah, like any sort of abilities, like this is good against those.
Well, do those
enchantments
count
that-
as ETB abilities on those lands?
I can't remember how some of them read, but I know, like, let's say Shocklands say as they enter the battlefield, pay 2 or enters tapped. That's still going to happen with this on the field because
it?
it's
Okay.
as it enters the battlefield, you're paying the effect. So that wouldn't change anything. It really depends on how the lands read. If it says it enters the battlefield, tap it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is basically hate that you're going to sideboard in against those legendary enchantments that flip, right?
That's it.
Like
Yeah.
the one, Golgari, crazy recursion tech.
Yeah.
That's going to nullify this. In terms of like a modern replacement for Blood Moon, this is this is worse.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Because
just bad.
it doesn't do anything against Tron or any of those like really awesome like Urza's power plant stuff.
Yeah.
So like it's really good in like limited, but once again it's sideboard tech. It's an enchantment. It'll help you reach ascend, and it replaces itself with a card, but it's still sideboard tech.
I think it's barely even sideboard because those legendary lands are rares, right? So you're not going to see them too often.
Yeah.
So for the most part, it's a bad card. It would be one of my last picks, to be honest. It'd just be like, oh, I got this, so I guess it's going in my sideboard.
So like D.
I give it a D plus.
D plus.
Yeah. Counterpoint though, in standard, if Tolarian Academy becomes a deck, like the blue-red enchantment that turns into Tolarian Academy, this would be great against that. It's going to stop that from go. Oh wait, will it? No, it's a mana ability. I don't think it will. Never mind. I'm bad.
It's okay. Next up we have Brass's Bounty. Different land than it was originally spoiled, which is kind of weird. Or sorry, different art. So it's a 7 CMC, 1 red and 6 colorless. It's a sorcery. It reads, for each land you control, get a treasure. What do you guys think?
If I manage to pull a Revel in Riches in one of my Ixalan packs, I will use that in conjunction with this to try to force a treasure deck.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I won't play this. It's expensive. It's 7 mana.
Yeah, it's way too expensive.
Yeah, but you do regularly get to turn 7 in limited, especially in sealed. So if you do have a Revel in Riches out, this will win you the game probably. But if I don't pull a Revel in Riches, then I'm not going to play this card. That's all.
It's a waste of a space in
Yeah.
the non-creature slot.
Yeah, so C minus.
Yeah, I give it C minus.
I'm totally in the same boat. Yeah. Next up we have Direfleet Daredevil. This is a 2 CMC, 1 red, 1 colorless. It's a 2/1 piker with first strike. It's a pirate. When Direfleet Daredevil enters the battlefield, exile target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. You may cast that card this turn, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast that spell. If that card would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. This is pretty cool. Obviously, you're not going to play it on turn 2 unless you have some really worthy, like, cheap 1 mana removal spells or even, a counter spell. Yeah, like...
I would play it early on because it's a 2 power creature with first strike.
Yeah.
So it's going to apply pressure.
I mean, optimally, you want to take advantage of its, like, ETB, though.
Absolutely, yeah. However, if you're facing, I guess, like, vampires or something like that, where you're not going to see... Well, I guess there's a lot of token generation. But that's usually in the form of enchantments and stuff, right? So, yeah, I think it really depends on the type of deck you're facing. So I guess if it's game 1 and you don't know what you're facing, then this is a card that you'd hold on to. But I do like the fact that it's just a 2/1 first strike for 2. Like, as a vanilla creature like that, I would play that.
So I said something about a counterspell earlier on. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
You wouldn't do that.
If it had flash, you
yeah,
could.
I wish it had flash. That's all. That would make it way better. Because then it would be an amazing surprise blocker with the 2/1 first strike, right? But
Yeah.
unfortunately, they didn't make it that way.
If this had flash, I could jizz all over with thoughts about recurring settle the wreckage as I get this out when they're attacking,
Yeah.
or something like that. But
This card is way worse than that, though.
Yeah, it's
so
bad.
like probably flat C or well, hold on a minute. I'm not taking into account obviously its keyword and its power and toughness. So maybe just like a B minus.
B plus B. No, B. It definitely has a place in my deck no matter what I'm playing. I just would probably ignore its second ability more often than not.
Yeah.
Unless they had a 1 CMC like kill something. Kind
If they
of
played
thing.
Opt,
Or swashbuckling.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no. I meant skullduggery.
Oh, okay. Just to reiterate on the whole, like, if it was Flash, this thing would be, like, pretty close to the power level of Snapcaster. Like, I think that would end up being, like, a $50 card if it was that. So,
Yeah.
Especially since you can cast it with any type of mana. So, yeah. It's a great card on its own. It's just definitely not Snapcaster level.
Yeah. Next up, we have Form of the Dinosaur. It's a 6 mana, double red, and 4 colorless enchantment. And it reads, when it enters the battlefield, your life total becomes 15. And at the beginning of your upkeep, Form of the Dinosaur deals 15 damage to target creature an opponent controls, and that creature deals damage equal to its power to you. This is really, really weird. So obviously you're going to want to cast this as like an emergency like thing. I wouldn't want to play this if my life total was greater than 15. So that makes it way worse than it actually is. And I know that when we say that like your life total is a resource, you definitely don't want it to be that.
Well, see, when I first looked at this card, I was like, I don't know how I feel about it, but it is 6 mana, so by that point, you're probably less than 15 life.
Yeah.
So you're resetting your life to 15, but you have to be very careful with the upkeep trigger, what you're targeting, because it can end up dealing a lot of damage to you.
Once again, this would be a lot better with Flash. Right now, you're casting it, and you give them an entire turn to attack you.
Mm-hmm. And then you're forced to do that.
And then you're
trigger.
forced to take damage according to that creature's power next turn. So if you're getting low, that means they're probably attacking you every turn. And then, okay, so you might go from 7 to 15 life, and then they attack you with their big swing again. And then next turn, you maybe get rid of that creature, but you're going to be really low again. You might even be lower than you were when you cast the card. It's weird. It's pure jank, but I don't know.
I'm going to probably give this a C minus or even a D plus. Like,
I'll give it a C minus. I'd be willing to try it at least once.
Yeah, C minus here.
Probably not going to pre-release it, but like maybe one day in a draft just to try it out.
it's just like, it reminds me of something like Sandworm Convergence, but like just the payoff isn't that great. It's just like really, really risky. Yeah, okay. Moving on, we're going to touch on Silverclad Ferocidons. This is a 7 mana CMC, double red and 5 colorless. It's a dinosaur. It's an 8/5. Pretty beefy. And it has an enrage trigger. Whenever it's dealt damage, each opponent sacrifices a permanent.
This
So
card
this-
is, yeah, I like it a lot.
This is like the anti
Ascend.
Ascend.
Yeah.
It's 7 mana, so people are already going to have Ascend by the time you play it. But,
Exactly, yeah.
it's still pretty fucking great. If you have a way to reliably ping this, you're going to get rid of creatures pretty quickly, and then you're going to start targeting lands. This is a bomb. It's great in a Dino ramp deck. I love it. It is super expensive though, and its body is only 5. But it does combo well with a lot of the enrage triggers. You know, Shrine Altarsaur will help this card out a lot. I give it a B+.
Yeah, I say B+, because of course it is 7 mana. It's an 8/5, which is great. No trample, unfortunately. The enrage trigger is just fantastic, though. It reminds me of that white creature from Kamigawa, who does something very similar to that. I think it's whenever you're dealt damage, but yeah.
In Two-Headed Giant, this goes up to an A
Mhm.
for me. But yeah, that's where I sit on this. What
You're
do we
going
think?
to want to obviously cheat it out and get it out sooner rather than later. But
Yeah.
yeah, like if you can get it out, it's totally fantastic. I'm going to say B+ just because it's on the expensive side, and if you're not careful, you can get it killed. Similar to the other like 5 toughness expensive rare dino that we were talking about in white.
Yeah.
So just be pretty careful with it. Yeah, so moving on to Tilanali's Summoner. This is a 2 CMC, 1 red, 1 colorless human shaman. It's one of the other City's Blessing matters cards. It has a really small body, a 1/1. Whenever it attacks, you may pay X and 1 red, and if you do, you create X 1/1 red elemental creature tokens that are tapped and attacking. At the beginning of the next end step, you exile those tokens unless you have the City's Blessing. Okay, so even if you don't have the City's Blessing, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great card on its own. With City's Blessing, that card's going to get out of control. It kind of reminds me of Master of Waves, but it's a recurring effect if you can keep it alive.
If you can keep it alive.
If you can keep it alive, yeah. And there's ways of doing that, right? But you do have to go out of your way of just playing this 2 mana creatures. You have to do something else to make sure it stays alive through the swings. But late game, it's a good card. Early game, it's a decent card. Definitely much better later on, though.
So those elementals, they count as permanents while they're on the board.
Yeah, so
So-
you can easily get Ascend.
Yeah.
Just off
So
of
if
that.
I have a Dino deck, and I want some humans in there, and I have some dinos or some triggers or some sorceries that have Ascend on them, and I pull this,
Mhm.
this is gonna be great. I'm gonna put it in, and I'm gonna try to get, especially if I get some dorks out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get Ascend as soon as
possible.
possible, and the turn that I get Ascend, I'll have 4 or 5 red elemental 1/1 tokens on the board as well.
That's really sneaky. I love it.
A plus. I'm gonna go ahead and say A plus.
I wouldn't give it A. I'd probably give it A- to A. Like the only thing that's holding me back from giving it a perfect rating is the fact that
It's a 1/1.
yeah.
Yeah, I want to give it an A+ because I love Young Pyromancer and Master of Waves, but I will give it an A just because it is pretty easy to remove.
Yeah. And that concludes red. So now we're just going to, continue forward and go into green. All right. So first up in green, we have Polyraptor. This is a 8 mana, double green, 6 colorless dinosaur. It's a 5/5, and its enraged trigger reads: whenever it's dealt damage, you create a token that's a copy of Polyraptor.
So I think what's really interesting about this, that Forerunner, that red one that says whenever a dinosaur enters a battlefield, deal 1 damage. You can get so many Polyraptors off of that.
It can go infinite, can't it?
No, you can get 8 without Sheltering Light.
Well-
if you get Sheltering Light and you put it on the thing that pings, then this goes infinite.
What is Sheltering?
It makes it indestructible.
Indestructible? Okay, yeah, because after you do it 3 times, the creature's going to die.
And Sheltering Light's a 1 white instant, I believe. So Yeah.
Honestly, even just making 3 of these, you go from having 1/5/5 for 8 to having 3 5/5s for 8 mana. So
No. You get more than that because
oh, true, yeah.
the ones that are out on the board are going to make copies of
Yeah,
themselves. But that's why when you make the thing indestructible,
Yeah.
it's going to be making 5 copies every time it pings of each one. It goes infinite.
Yep.
And then
Everyone gets in here for Hearthstone players. Wow.
Grim Patron or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I hated that.
So, letter grade?
On its own, I would give it either a B+ or an A-. But if you have the right stuff for this thing to go crazy, then it becomes a solid A+. It's still 8 mana, but you're playing dinosaurs where you can cheat it out a lot.
do you think this is going to see play in standard?
Maybe.
I'm going to say it will see play in standard. Not sure about at a Pro Tour, but so many people are going to try to go for that gimmick where you get a crap ton of these
You
things.
just get
So-
infinite raptors over and over and over
So
again?
at your local gaming store, you're going to see this guy a lot. I'm going to be tempted to play him. You know, I like. We'll see with the next card. I want to try to play Galta on turn 3, and then be able to play Polyraptor as well.
I think turn 3 Galta is worse than turn 4 Galta with
Yeah,
haste.
with the haste. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna build a deck around getting Galta out early, but it's gonna be built around getting him out with haste. But I'll have both opportunities in that deck. And speaking of,
Hold on. What about a letter grade for Polyraptor first?
No, I'm gonna give it an A-.
an A-?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's expensive, so I give it an A- as well.
I'm going to give it an A- as well, just to bandwagon. So moving on, let's talk about Galta Primal Hunger,
Yeah. So,
which is normally you can hard cast it for 12 mana for a 12/12, but obviously you're going to take advantage of its like rules text, which states Galta Primal Hunger costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control. It's a 12/12 trampler, by the way.
yeah. So in a limited setting, this will be like a great card on its own. We probably won't be able to cheat it out on turn 4 like we will in standard, but it's still a great card. You're gonna get it pretty early on if you're playing dinosaurs.
Even Merfolk though,
Yeah, even Merfolk, too.
right? So you're gonna get you get 1 or 2 River Herald's boons. You get a lot of the other. You get that Merfolk Lord out. You get the counter generation. You get a few other creatures that give counters to Merfolk. You can get this out on turn 5 probably. I'd say. If you're lucky.
Yeah, like
And-
commonly maybe turn 5 or 6.
Yeah. And then when this comes out in turn 5 or 6, your opponent's going to be freaking out. If you can get this out, if you have a Dino deck, you pull Otepic Huntmaster. There's going to be virtually nothing an opponent can do unless they have, an instant speed remove a spell or settle the wreckage. It'll be 12 damage with trample coming at them. Very scary. What do you think, Parker?
I'm going to give it a solid A.
Yeah, I'll give it an A. And just want to touch on the fact that, like in standard, this thing, I think we'll see play. Again, I'm not sure about the Pro Tours because those decks are usually more like mid-rangey than they are like about combos and stuff like that. But being able to play those early the 2 mana dinosaur that we talked about, and then like
That gets counters?
the one that makes things haste, I think.
Oh, Otepic. It's not a
Yeah.
dinosaur. It's a.
Right, it's a
makes,
human.
And it
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
dinosaurs cost 1 less. So
Yes,
that also helps with Galta. And then when you get it, when a dinosaur enters the battlefield, you can tap it and give that dinosaur haste.
Yeah, and then you play Cultivator's Caravan. So when you have Cultivator's Caravan, that itself is 5 power, and then you have to crew it with 3 power. So when you crew it, you effectively already have 8 power there, and then on turn 4, you're most likely going to have 4 mana, or dinosaur's going to cost 1 less. So
yeah. So I think you're either going to need an old growth Dryas level 1 on turn 1, or you're going to need to be able to play an extra card on turn 4, another 1-drop, and then to crew that thing with 3. This is for standard, guys. It's not for limited.
Yeah,
So,
we're getting off topic.
yeah, I'm just a little excited about that card.
Yeah, understandably so. Moving on, we have Deeproot Elite, which is a 2 CMC, 1 green, 1 colorless. It's a Merfolk Warrior. It's a 1/1. However, more importantly, its rules text reads, whenever another merfolk enters a battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target merfolk you control. So you can buff any merfolk on the board so long as you have merfolk coming in. This is best played with those enchantments that will net you, not best played with, but it can be accompanied by those enchantments that give you the 1/1 blue hexproof dudes, merfolks. I think this is a fantastic card. I think it's great to basically fill out your curve for Merfolk, and it's gonna even take advantage of Explore.
Mm-hmm.
The first few counters that I get out on the board, I'm gonna want to place on this guy.
Yeah.
He is great.
But you don't want it to die, so absolutely.
Yeah, so he's like a metallic mimic for just merfolk, but it's better because you could choose who you can put the counter on.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be played in standard as well.
Yeah.
With metallic mimic,
Yeah,
obviously.
probably, most likely.
And even maybe that winding constrictor.
Green black merfolk with
green black blue.
Green black blue, splash black for the constrictor.
Yeah. But back to limited,
Mm-hmm.
let's give it a rating. I'm going to give it a B+. A minus.
I'm gonna give it a B+ just because of how easily it dies early on.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see that, you're gonna play this every time you see it.
Yeah. If they have a removal spell on their card in their hand next turn, they're going to be using it to get rid of this.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't, this will get pretty stupid pretty quickly.
We haven't touched on hate drafting at all, but honestly, if I saw this and I wasn't in Merfolk, I'd take it because I don't want to see that played against me.
Very true. If you are going blue-green Merfolk in limited, and you do happen to open those two Merfolk printed in that gold color from the previous Ixalan set, you can also use those +1/+1 counters as a resource to draw other cards. That also can do you a lot of favors in a limited game. Obviously more dirtly, but it's still relevant.
Yeah.
Next up we have Jade Light Ranger. This is a 3 mana, double green and 1 colorless. It's a 2/1 Merfolk Scout, and when this enters the battlefield, it explores and then explores again. So that's pretty awesome.
So I haven't seen a bad green rare yet. I think green is a great color. This set. This combos so well with other things that trigger from Explore. There's in Ixalan there was a creature that gets a counter every time you explore. And the best thing about this is you can say you explore once. And you can keep, and it's a non-land card. Keep it on top. Explore again. Get 2 counters on this thing. It'll be a 4/3 for 3. That's great by itself. Or you can get 2 lands, and that'll help as well.
Yeah. What's really cool about this is you could explore and then see the top card, not like it, but keep it there just to get the counter. Explore again, get the counter, toss it in the graveyard, just to ensure that you will get the counters if that's what you're looking for.
Also, this has the potential to combo well with that blue sorcery that allows you to draw 3 cards and then put 2 back on top.
Yep.
So, that is in furtherance to what you just said, where you could even, put 1 junk non-creature spell or a creature that you don't necessarily want, which would almost never be the case. But let's just say you wanted this thing to get the double counters, and you can also do that milling of yourself,
right? And
then reveal the second one, and then keep that on top. Yeah, for that reason, I'm gonna give this probably a B+.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A. Honestly, there's nothing bad about this card. You're most likely gonna at least get 1 counter out of it, so I like it.
Yep.
Moving on, we have Path of Discovery. This is a 4 mana enchantment, 1 green and 3 colorless. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it explores. This is great for Merfolk, and it's also good for dinosaurs as well, especially if you have a lot of token generation. I don't have anything bad to say about this card other than the fact that it costs 4. It's almost a turn off if you do play it on curve.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like is the fact that it's 4 mana. But I do love the idea of just seeing dinosaurs with safari hats on going through Ixalan.
Awesome. What would you? I would probably give it a C plus then. Like, I'm not going to be happy to play this. I'm not going to be too thrilled to open it, but it does have the potential to go off.
Yeah, I give it a C plus to like B minus. It is really good. It's just 4 mana, which is a little expensive, but yeah, if you're playing Merfolk, you're gonna probably explore more often than you would with dinosaurs because you just have a lot more low cost creatures. So at that point, exploring will be so handy in limited because you're just gonna see so many cards.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add, Mike?
No, I agree with everything you guys have said. I would maybe give it a B minus though. I can envision situations where I'll pull that common, that wild growth elemental that gets a counter every time you explore, and and just throwing that in my deck, I can see this winning games for me.
Okay.
Potentially.
Very true.
Next up, we have Tendershoot Dryad. This is a 5 mana, 1 green, 4 colorless. It's a dryad, just like its name implies. It's a 2/2 with Ascend. And at the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token. And all your Saprolings are going to benefit from a global +2/+2 boost if you have the City's Blessing. This is an interesting card, although it's very expensive for a 2/2, but you better have that City's Blessing, right?
Yeah, honestly, this card is amazing. 5 mana is a lot, but I would be happy to play this card. The fact that you're getting a 1/1 every turn is
Pretty good.
It says each upkeep,
Oh, so it's going to trigger on your opponent's upkeep too.
Absolutely.
That means every single turn that passes, you're going to get 2 bodies.
Yep. It's crazy.
And it's going to
really
help
good.
you get that. It's going to help you actually get the City's Blessing then.
Yep.
I would put this in with that ancient Armasaur or the other green dinosaur that's 4 or 5 mana that has the Enrage trigger that creates Saprolings when it takes damage because it's not each Saproling created by this thing that you control. It's each Saproling you control gets +2/+2 as long as you have the City's Blessing.
Yeah.
So this combos well with that card. It could get done very quickly.
Yeah, so obviously you're going to want to play this if you have a ramping strategy with Mana Dorks. It's going to allow you to get this out faster, and so you might already be halfway to actually getting Ascend the hard way before you start having this finally get you over that finish line.
So what I like about this is it's a 2/2 for 5. However, as soon as you're past your turn, you're going to get a 1/1. So it's effectively a 2/2 and a 1/1 for 5. So most likely you're going to get at least 1 token out of it. There's not too much fast removal that can get rid of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this kind of gets around a lot of the removal in the set where
Where they deal with
it's
CMC.
but also like CMC, but also it gets around a lot of arrests, and there's a lot of arrests in the set.
Yeah, you're not worried about attacking with this thing at all.
Yeah,
No.
you're not going to be attacking with this.
This is just sitting on the board, generating Saprolings for you. I like it a lot. I would give it an A minus.
Yeah, I'll give it an A minus.
Yeah, probably B plus to an A minus. You might have a hard time actually drawing or having an unopening hand with those Mana Dorks.
It feels bad when it
can
dies.
be removed too.
Yeah, it feels bad when it dies because you're spending 5 mana. That's the way I think about it. When someone removes something, if they're removing a 1 mana creature, even if it's like a rare or whatever, and it's a really good card, they're spending more mana to kill that creature than I spent, so that's worth it to me. This is 5 mana though, so if they do kill it, it's going to feel bad. You wasted a turn most likely. So
Yeah, that's what's preventing me from rating it in the A bracket. Moving on, we have Wayward Swordtooth. This is a 3 mana, 1 green and 2 colorless. It's a dinosaur with the 5/5. It has Ascend on it. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Wayward Swordtooth can't attack or block unless you have City's Blessing. This is wow.
this is a great card.
This is fantastic. It's going to enable you to just get to your more expensive dinosaurs, or
I'd play this in
even
Merfolk even
yeah.
Yeah.
This is
With
good.
Explore.
with Explore.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is good all around. It basically has an arrest effect on it as like normally, it's a 5/5, but this can take advantage of obviously getting out Galta quicker,
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
Because it still counts toward that. So that's going to
Dude.
give you like half of its like colorless discount right
Yeah,
there.
it's reducing its mana cost by 5 for 3 mana.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even need to play that caravan then.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Yeah, so I'm going to probably give this a flat A.
Yeah, I'd give it an A. Absolutely. I love playing additional lands. You have to, of course, have the lands in your hand, which is why I like it more in Merfolk.
Explore.
Because with the Explore, you're going to see a lot more lands. Yeah, I think the Ascend trigger with the additional lands will be pretty easy to pull off. So I like this card a lot. Definitely an A.
Yeah, agreed. Next up, we have World Shaper. This is a 4 mana, 1 green and 3 colorless. It's a 3/3. It's a Merfolk Shaman. Whenever World Shaper attacks, you may put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. When World Shaper dies, put all land cards from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. So this is like Splendid Reclamation.
I see this being pretty weird in a Merfolk deck, but
Yeah.
if you pull that green-black enchantment that turns into a land, this thing's going to be ridiculously good. It doesn't really fit Merfolk theme to me.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is a 3/3 for 4 that says you may do that ability. So you're not forced to do it. It's pretty decent. Like if you end up playing Evolving Wilds, especially, if you play Evolving Wilds, you sack it. Later on, this thing dies. You can get Evolving Wilds back. You don't even need to worry about milling yourself.
This is kind of weird for me. How this can best be used. Like obviously as a sacrifice outlet, but
I mean, weird. It might have a place in like some weird jank landfall deck. This is the first bad green rare I think
agree.
I've seen.
Yeah.
3/3 for 4. That's fine by itself. I'd give it a C.
Yeah, I like the card. However, it doesn't really have a place in this set, really. So, yeah, I give it a C.
yeah, I'm gonna give it a C minus. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed with that one there. All right, so that's it for green. So now let's start touching on the gold rares and mythic rares. So starting with Azor, the Lawbringer. This is a 6 mana, double blue, double white, and 2 colorless in its casting cost. So it's 6/6 for 6. It's a legendary creature, a Sphinx. It has flying. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent can't cast instant or sorcery spells during that player's next turn. Similar to that mono white sort of sorcery that we talked about earlier in this episode. When it enters the battlefield, the opponent can't cast any non-creature spells during their next turn. When it attacks, you may pay X, 1 white and 2 blue, and if you do, you gain X life and draw X cards. What do you guys think about this?
It dies to removal, yeah. I know a lot of people don't like this card, but any sorcery removal they have means they're not going to be able to play it on their next turn, which means you're going to get 1 attack with this at least before it dies. And if you have 6 mana, you're going to be able to at least do Sphinx's Revelation, which is what its ability is, once before it dies, and you'll get 3 to 4 cards out of it if you have 7 mana on turn 7.
I like this a lot. I'd put it in a pirate deck, actually. I put it in a treasure deck, so I could sack the treasures to get the 2 white, and I might even be able to get this out before turn 6, and then you have a 6/6 flyer for 6. This is a bomb. I would pick it and then try to build treasure around it.
Yeah, I would first pick this. I really like white-blue flyers, and even though that's not a tribe in this set, it's still possible to go white-blue flyers as well. So I could definitely see
a
this.
little bit of flying vampires, a little
Yep.
bit of flying pirates.
Yep, absolutely. So it's definitely possible to go non-tribal, evasion. But like you said, in pirates it fits too with the treasure. As long as you have enough treasure generation, I definitely throw that in there. It's a great card.
What would you rate it?
I'd give it an A minus just because it has no way of surviving, other than that ETB for 1 turn if they only have sorcery spells.
B plus for me.
I'm going to give it a B minus, just because it just seems really difficult to pull off. Next up, we have Kumena, Tyrant of Orazka. This is a 3 mana for a 2/4. This is, of course, in the Merfolk tribe, so it has 1 blue and 1 green in its casting cost. It's a legendary Merfolk Shaman, and that's pretty decent for what you're getting in a body for its casting costs, and it has some interesting abilities here. You can tap another untapped Merfolk you control, and Kumena turns into an unblockable creature for 1 turn. You can also tap 3 untapped Merfolk you control, and you can draw a card. Or you can tap 5 untapped Merfolk you control, and you get to put a +1/+1 counter on every Merfolk you control. I think this is really good. If you really wanted to, in a drafting environment, force Merfolk, and I would obviously pack one, pick one, and try.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Pack one, pick one for sure. One thing you got to note with cards like this, and as well as Azami, which is a wizard, it says tap. It doesn't say that the ability requires you to tap, right? So when this comes out, you can tap it, even if it has summoning sickness, because its ability is tapping it, not the creature itself.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to those vampires in the latest, tribal commander sort of mechanics.
Yep.
You can play this. And you can just start using its abilities immediately because it doesn't require it. It doesn't have the tap symbol in its actual ability casting cost or triggered cost.
And even its stats 2/4 for 3.
2/4 for 3.
Yeah.
I would pick this even if it didn't have the abilities that it had.
Yeah.
It would have a place in my deck. I rate this an A, maybe even an A+.
I'm gonna give it an A+. Honestly, there's nothing about this card I don't like.
Yeah. I can just imagine going off and just drawing tapping for that final ability there. However, that comes with some risk because obviously you're gonna want to do that final ability on your opponent's turn after that they've on their end step, obviously, right?
Yep, exactly.
Because you don't want to do it during one of your main phases and then be screwed and leave yourself open to potentially losing the game. So just be smart about that.
If any of these abilities said only activate on your turn, this card would be immediately bad. But the fact that you can do this whenever you want is amazing. And yeah, there's so many cards in the set that make 1/1 Merfolk that you're going to be able to pull off that tap 5 Merfolk
Really
easy
easily.
peasy.
Yeah. So if this was in your main deck, you might want to consider main decking those enchantments that sort of give you those 1/1 blue hexproof, and that's when hexproof will really matter.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be able to stop you from going wide unless they have a global board clear like that fiery bombardment. Deal 2 damage to each non-vampire.
Yeah.
Or sorry, non-pirate.
Yeah. Another reason why I give it an A+, a little bias. In standard, I'd play probably 3 of these in a deck. It's a legendary, which means I don't like to play more than 2, but it's so good that I want to be able to draw it every single time. So yeah, I think that Merfolk are going to be pretty strong in standard.
Yeah, A+ for me as well.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have Elenda, the Dusk Rose. This is a 4 mana, 1 black, 1 white, and 2 colorless. It's a legendary vampire knight. It's a 1/1 with lifelink. Whenever another creature dies, so even your opponent's creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on Elenda the Dusk Rose. And when Elenda dies, you're going to create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is Elenda's power. This is a little bit worse than Kumena in terms of tribal support, only because it's easily killed if you play it, and it costs 4, right? However, even if you do play it and it dies, you're still going to get 1
You're
token.
going to get 1 out of it, yeah.
Unless, however, you are unfortunate enough to have this countered.
Yeah.
What do you like?
Or exiled.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah. So since we comparatively gave Kumena an A+, I'd probably give this an A-. It's still an amazing card, but it dies so fast. So you need to either play this on turn 4 and hope for the best, or wait, play it when you have more mana, so that you will play this, and then you maybe remove some of the creatures or sack some of your own to buff its power toughness.
Yeah, I could see this being an interesting follow-up to a board clear.
Not a follow-up. It's not like Bloodcraze Paladin, right? It's not when if a creature died this turn.
I'm sorry. I should clarify. You would want to play this. Just because if it's relatively high CMC and it's tiny body, I would just be afraid of overextending and playing out to and then having them wipe everything, and then you're completely screwed.
Oh yeah.
I'm in the same boat as you guys. Probably but I'm probably going to give it a tiny, just a tad lower. I'm going to say B plus probably.
Yeah, B plus for me as well. I think it's going to be removed so often. I would even give it lower than that. I think with one life, this will get removed almost every single time you play it.
It's
Almost
pretty
instantly.
risky.
There's so many enrage triggers that ping. There are so many global pings for one. There's that pirate, what is it, fiery bombardment or fiery cannonade? Sorry.
Yeah.
There's so many things that can get rid of this, and so many things in the set that ping for low damage. And there are things that destroy creature power 3 or less. And it's going to be maybe a turn or two before this gets to 3 power, unless you have ways of stacking your own creatures, like you said, or removing creatures.
And if you have that one spell that gives everything -2/-2, unless you have City's Blessing, you're gonna have to either pump this up first or hold off on getting all the triggers that you would from everything dying, because this thing would die at the same time, and you wouldn't get all those counters. So yeah.
Unless you do have City's Blessing, then that
Unless you have
becomes
City's Blessing,
an
yeah.
excellent card. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we have Angrath, the Flame Chained. This is a Rakdos Planeswalker. We haven't seen one of those in a while. This is a 5 CMC, 1 red, 1 black, and 3 colorless. It's a legendary Planeswalker. It enters the battlefield with 4 loyalty, and its first modal sort of +1. So you can add 1 loyalty, and each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. It's -3 reads, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it, gains haste until end of turn, and you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step if it has CMC 3 or less. Its ultimate -8 reads, each opponent loses life equal to the number of cards in his or her graveyard. People were talking smack about this, but
This is a great card. I love it.
think it's great.
By people, you mean me?
Yeah, Mike. You were like, well, why would I play this? It sucks. Well, first of all, it gets better in Two-Headed Giant, and even in a one-on-one match, this is totally cool. I think this just screams Rakdos flavor.
Yep.
They finally made a really decent Planeswalker in these colors.
Mm-hmm. I really like the -3 because you don't have to target something that costs 3 or less. You can gain control of whatever you want.
Yeah.
So you can get something big, something small. Also, you can target one of your own things that maybe it's unable to be untapped. So you
Yeah.
can target it, untap it, swing with it. Or if you have something that you want to die, then you can target that and then you sacrifice at the end of the turn. So I do like it a lot. I like this card.
Even more value from claustrophobia style effects.
Yep, absolutely.
I also like its +1 because not only are they discarding a card, they're also losing 2 life.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's going to double up into a giant, as I said before.
Yeah, even in 1v1, like you said, it's really strong because you're playing red-black, maybe red-black-blue. You're applying a lot of pressure, so losing 2 life and discarding a card, they're losing so much card advantage, they're losing life, it's just a lot of pressure on them.
So normally when you play Rakdos, you can have a hard time if you come up against a board stall, right?
Right.
This is basically a board stall, too bad.
Yeah.
I'm going to totally turn the tide right now.
Yeah.
So
That's a nice torrential Gearhulk you have there. Let me steal that for a turn.
yeah, I mean, I could even see as almost an alternate win condition in those quintessential board stally games when you're up against control. You just do its +1 4 times in a row, and then on the 5th time you have it out, -8, your opponent's is probably going to die because if they have a really big graveyard, they're toast.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's still tricky to pull off, but
Yeah.
I
Usually,
think
when I look at Planeswalkers, you try to avoid looking at the ultimate.
Yeah.
Because they are always going to be pretty cool, but they're hard to pull off.
yeah.
But that -8 is really strong.
But more often than not, you're probably going to rely on the second ability.
Yeah, the first and second ability, both good. Sometimes +1 abilities are kind of mediocre, but honestly, I like the +1 a lot. The -3 is fantastic.
So I'm going to give it a letter grade of probably B+ to an A-.
I'm gonna give it an A. It's 5 mana, of course, but I really like this card. I don't think it'll ever not be a great card to play, because you're also, when you play a Planeswalker, you cast it, it goes on the battlefield. As long as you don't do anything else, you have priority. You can still do his +1 or his -3 before he gets removed
Yeah.
in any sort of instant manner. So
You changed my mind. I'll give it an A minus.
Yeah. You also need to consider that you're going to be playing this when you go heavy rack, though. So you're going to have those gold pirates that even benefit from having more attackers.
Yep.
So that just adds on to the pain of just getting totally bum rushed.
Absolutely.
So next up we have Huatley, Radiant Champion. She's a little bit easier to get out than Angrath. She costs 4, 1 white, 1 green, and 2 colorless. She is going to enter the battlefield with 3 loyalty. Her +1 states that you can put a loyalty counter on Huatley, Radiant Champion, for each creature you control. So this is a lot easier to get to her ultimate, and it really complements a go-wide strategy. Its second ability reads, you can -1 loyalty, and target creature gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control.
Mm-hmm.
So very similar to its first thing. Her ultimate is you subtract 8 loyalty, and you get an emblem with, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So this is really good with dinosaurs, obviously, just like its art and her own flavor recommends. I could see this being used in a deck with the that like Polyraptor thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like all her abilities are great as well. The +1's a little boring, but it's still a really good effect to have. The -1 is really great because if you're +1ing, you're probably getting 1 or 2, maybe 3 or more loyalty counters. So -1ing is not hurting her at all. The -1 is really strong. Do that to a trample, dude. Put it on a flyer. It's going to cause a lot of damage. And that -8 is a lot more attainable than Angrath's. And that effect is a lot like Soul the Harvest or Primordial Sage, where whenever you play a creature, you draw a card. So you can just go really wide there. Play a bunch of small creatures, draw, and you're not going to run out of gas. So it's great.
I'm going to give this probably A to A+.
I'm going to give it an A.
Yeah.
I'll give it an A as well. I like it a lot. I do like Huatley. She's my waifu. Dinosaur lady. Oh, yeah.
All right, so we're going to continue on with our gold rares. So first up, we have Path of Metal, and this is the first of a new cycle of legendary enchantments that also flip into legendary lands. So this is a 1 white, 1 red legendary enchantment. When it enters a battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each creature that doesn't have First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilant, or Haste. Whenever you attack with at least 2 creatures that have First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilance, or Haste, transform Path of Metal. So obviously, right off the bat, this is an enraged trigger. However, this is a lot harder to flip. Personally.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to flip, but at the same time, you're also only paying 2 mana for an enraged trigger that may eventually turn into a land.
It could potentially be a board wipe against vampires.
Yeah.
Any go wide token strategy. It pretty much does the same thing as Shake the Foundations.
Yeah, when it flips to the lands, I don't like its abilities too much. They're decent. They're good for what they do, but it's just nothing fancy to me. As for would I put this in a white-red deck in limited? You'd have to have quite a few creatures with those keywords on there. So I don't know. It's a little weird for me.
And if anything, you're going to be running it if you're playing dinosaurs, right? So
Most likely, yeah.
How many of the dinosaurs have First Strike, Double Strike, Vigilance, or Haste? Not a lot of them.
Okay, scenario here.
Okay.
Get a dinosaur out. Get a Tepic Huntmaster out. Gives it haste till end of turn.
Okay.
And you just need 1 creature with haste. Or, conversely, open up a Regisaur Alpha. Gives all dinosaurs haste.
It's true.
I totally forgot about those.
There are ways you can get this.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy, but it's possible and it's feasible to see happen. And I don't know. I like the card a lot. It's a cheap global enrage trigger. It does 1 damage to everything.
It also works well with that 2 mana red rare we saw, where you pay X for that many elementals. Because those, I'm pretty sure they have haste. Or are they just tapped and attacking?
They're tapped and attacking.
So maybe they don't have haste, so that wouldn't really work. But yeah, like you said, if you have Regisaur Alpha or any of those cards, this is great. But that's where you need to make sure you have a lot of those cards in your deck before this becomes helpful, because you could be stuck with a enchantment that's doing absolutely nothing for a long time.
You know what? I would put it in as a cheap global enrage. That's what I would do.
Fair.
It would go out on the board against newer players. They're gonna be like, oh, I have this enchantment removal, and and they're going to use it on this. They're going to legendary enchantment. Oh no, it's a flip land. Oh no, I'm going to remove it, and then you'll have removal in your hand. This enchantment removal, like an arrest or something, and they won't have it for that. I think it has some utility in that regard.
Yeah, and if you do get it to flip, I think it's kind of funny how you make sure you bring your Dungeons and Dragons dice to pre-release, guys, because when it comes to its like third activated ability on its other side, choosing a creature at random that attacked this turn to destroy that creature, that seems a little janky. Sorry, not janky, just really, really slow and dirtly, but its second ability is a really nice complement if you are playing two-headed giant.
Yeah, the nice thing about the third ability is that you don't have to wait for them to deal the damage first. They just have to attack, and then you can activate it before they deal the damage.
Yeah.
Unlike Spear of Heliod, which says choose a creature that dealt damage this turn. So in that respect, it's good. The red part of it is also pretty good. So I'm going to give it a B just because of the Enrage trigger. If it wasn't for that Enrage trigger, I actually wouldn't like this card at all.
Yes, same here.
B as well.
B to a B plus, depending on what deck that's in. Next up, we have Hadana's Climb. This is the Merfolk, I guess, legendary enchantment of the cycle. It's 3 mana, 1 blue, 1 green, and 1 colorless. And it reads, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then, if that creature has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you get to transform into the legendary land, which is the Winged Temple of Orazca. And this is a mana fixing land. It can tap for 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Also, you can basically respend the mana that you cast the first side of it. So the same 3 CMC, 1 colorless, 1 green, and 1 blue. And you can tap the land, and target creature you control gains flying and gets +X until end of turn, where X is its power. The card that we just reviewed.
This card is ridiculous.
It's spooky.
Okay?
It's really spooky.
You get this out, and then you play a River Herald's Boon, which is a 1 mana, 2 +1/+1 counters on target on one creature you control, then target Merfolk you control. You can have this flip next turn. You can have this flipped on turn 4, swing in with a 4/4 flyer, 8/8 flyer.
I guess, yeah.
On turn 4.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's nuts.
Absolutely.
This is an A+ for me. I will pick this and use this in every Merfolk deck that I have.
For a moment, I thought you meant like play the enchantment on turn 4 and then like flip it, but then like you'd have no mana. But I see what you mean. You play the enchantment turn 3, and then turn 4 you play like the
River Herald's Boon.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have a 4/4, maybe even a 5/5. If you put it on like a 2-power Merfolk or a 3-power Merfolk, you can even have a 6/6. It'll have 3 counters, and then it'll have 6 power, and then it'll have. It's just it's ridiculous.
This is also great for standard bug counters.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's a commander deck I do not want to see this put in because it's going to be so strong. It's the green-blue Azuri.
Yeah.
He's insanely strong with this card. It's going to be terrifying.
Yeah, this is pretty sick. I'm going to give it just a solid A because it is, it's really easy to play. However, I think if you're going up against a Rakdos or a Control or a Burn deck in Limited and in Standard, this can mess you up. And you know what I mean? Like I could see this going sour if you're not careful, or if you're up against a certain opponent who's just gonna blast your creatures and not even let them get the counters.
Right.
So you have to be cognizant of that.
It can be slow.
Yeah.
If you're not able to give things counters, then you're waiting 3 turns before this thing actually flips. But just be able to give things counters is pretty great, and then the flip is just where it gets ridiculous. So.
This would be best played with Savage Stomp and other combat tricks that are going to give one of your creatures an extra counter. Because remember, it's not going to flip until you have a creature that has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it.
You could potentially play this and flip it in the same turn.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you could have a Merfolk out on turn 1. Gave it 2 counters with
By the
Herald's
way,
Boon turn
this
2.
this doesn't have to counter this doesn't have to target a merfolk. It can also target a dinosaur.
Yeah, it can also go in pirates. If you have treasure,
Yeah.
if you have a lot of treasure and there's nothing else that you're splashing for, I would probably splash this in there. But it might be a bit slower in pirates because I don't see there being too many counters
No.
being put on pirates.
I'm gonna give this
An A.
A.
Yeah, I'll give it
Flat A. All right, moving on. We have the vampire version of this. It's the Profane Procession. This is a 3 CMC, 1 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. A legendary enchantment once again. Its activated ability is 5 CMC, 3 colorless, 1 white, 1 in black. It says exile target creature. Then, if there are 3 or more cards exiled with Profane Procession, transform it. So this is interesting. Its flip side turns into a legendary land called Tomb of the Dusk Rose. It also fixes for mana, and you can pay 4, tap it to put a creature card exiled with this permanent onto the battlefield under your control. Huh.
I don't like this card at all. You're
It's too slow.
Yeah, you're exiling 3 cards. They had to be creatures in order
Yeah.
to transform this. And then there's things like Field of Ruin, which is a land that destroys another land. So if this flips, boom, it's gone. You just wasted 3 creatures. And if you've exiled 2 creatures and all of a sudden you see a naturalized played against you, you just lost 2 creatures you're never getting back. They're outside the game now. So
Whoa.
Well, you're going to be exiling your opponent's creatures, not
yeah,
yours.
you're not exiling your own.
Because it's
yeah,
flip
okay.
side
This
allows
is
you
like-
to.
yeah, I thought it said
This
from
is
your
like,
hands.
Yeah.
To be honest.
This is I like this a lot. I'm going to disagree with you guys here. You get this out on turn 3.
It's still too pricey.
After turn
It's
5, you
pricey.
have removal. You can play every single turn. Every single turn, you get removal.
This is extremely vulnerable against enchantment hate. So if you play it in game 1, I would side it out just to mess with my opponent's head and play
Yeah.
like a meta game of Magic.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm going to apologize for thinking that it was exile creature from your hand. Like, I thought you were trying to bring things back that you're exiling to play them a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
So I can see that being pretty okay to, in the mid game, being able to exile something a turn is okay. But because of how much artifact and enchantment hate there is, I just don't like this card too much. And when it flips, you have to wait a long time for this thing to flip. So if you're spending a total of 15 mana
Yeah.
to flip this thing and it gets destroyed, I don't like it. Even if it doesn't get destroyed, you had to spend 15 mana to flip that thing.
I think this would, the speed of this card means that you would probably have to play it in a very dirtily controlled deck that has a lot of stalling stuff that really trips up your opponent because of the same fact that you just said. You need this. You need a lot of time to get the actual payoff for this. So this is substantially worse than the last 2 flip enchantments that we just reviewed. I'm going to give this probably a C+ to even just a middle C, or even like C-.
I give it a B-. I like I like after turn 5 being able to just pay 5 mana at any time and exile something.
Yeah, I mean, like if I was in these colors and I had this, I would play it because it does exile things. But I'm gonna give this a C- just because it's nothing too great.
This I think this is sideboard tech. This is sideboard tech. This is sideboard tech against a Gotal deck. So this is best used against huge dinos.
Yeah, I would want to play this against
I'll
pirates.
go wide.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you're paying 5 mana and you're exiling 1 creature.
and if it's against pirates or something like that, they're not expensive creatures.
Yeah,
so
they don't
you're
even
spending
care.
5 mana for a 2 mana creature or something like that. So
Yeah, this is meant against large beasts,
Yeah.
but it's just once again way too expensive and slow.
Okay.
Next up, we have Storm the Vault. This is the Is It kind of version of the flip stuff. So this is 4 mana, 1 red, 1 blue, and 2 colorless. Legendary enchantment. Once again, whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get a treasure. And at the beginning of your end step, if you control 5 or more artifacts, transform Storm the Vault. Keep in mind that there are artifacts that we're going to touch on really soon that also complement with the actual token, treasure artifact tokens.
right.
So it's going to check to make sure you have 5 or more, and then it flips into the Vault of Catlacan. It's a legendary land. It once again, just like with most of the other ones, it's going to fix for mana. and you can tap to add 1 blue to your mana pool for each artifact you control. What do you guys think?
So the one major setback for this card is it says whenever one or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, you get a token, right? So it means
Yeah.
if you swing with 5 creatures, you're only getting 1 token. However, if you're in these colors, you most likely have treasure generation. So it's pretty easy to flip this thing. You're probably not flipping it on turn 4 or 5, unless you're super lucky. But later in the game, this thing is a powerhouse. Like it's turns into Tolarian Academy, which is a fantastic card. You no longer have to sack your treasures once this thing flips, because you can just add so much blue to your mana pool, and then on top of that, if you need mana fixing, sack 1 or 2 of those treasure. So you end up having so much mana, and if you're playing red-blue, and you get that 2 mana red creature I keep talking about, where you get to play elementals. You're going to get so many elementals out of this card. It's ridiculous, and because you have 5 artifacts and you're making probably 5 elementals, you're going to ascend. You're going to keep those elementals.
Yeah.
I love this card. It synergizes a lot with other cards. It's a little slow by itself, but you're going to have a lot of things that complement this card.
What letter grade would you assign it?
I'll give it an A, maybe A minus.
It is 4 mana. I give it an A. I give it an A minus to B plus.
Myself as well. I don't normally play these colors, so personally, I'm going to give it a B plus. Yeah, it seems a little tricky. It seems like this is going to really complement standard as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to see what we can do with it. So let's just forge on ahead to Journey to Eternity. This is really cool. I love the flavor and the artwork of this card, especially the cohesion between the front and the back. I think that R&D really knocked this one out of the park. This is Journey to Eternity. It's 3 CMC, 1 colorless, 1 black, and 1 green. It's a legendary enchantment, but this one is an aura. So this is going to go on a creature you control, and when that creature dies, you return it to the battlefield under your control, and then you're going to also return this enchantment to the battlefield flipped under your control. So once it's flipped, it turns into Ixalan, Cave of Eternity. It's a legendary land. It fixes for color, just like all the other ones. You're going to pay 5 for its activated ability. 3 colorless, 1 black, 1 green. Tap it, and you get to recur. You get to cheat out one of your creature cards from your graveyard right to the battlefield. So this has a lot of potential to win games, I think.
Yeah, no, I really like this card. The upside of the aura side is just fantastic. Being able to return that creature to the battlefield, and then getting to flip it, and then returning more creatures to the battlefield with 5 mana. Super strong. This, again, there was that card we saw earlier where you're milling 3 cards and returning lands when it dies. This is the synergy I really like there with that card. The only time I'd probably play that Merfolk where you're milling yourself, so that you can just put all your big creatures in your graveyard and then return them to the battlefield for 5 mana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in a way, this is almost making one of your creatures semi-hexproof, because no way is your opponent going to want to target one of your creatures that you have with this, because they don't want it to flip.
Yeah.
Unless they have some enchantment hate to get rid of the enchantment.
Yeah, and
of
they would
course.
side that against you, right?
Yeah.
So this is pretty wicked.
And you're going to want to side that when you see somebody play this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and there's also that one spell from the previous Ixalan set I brought it up before, where you sack a artifact or creature you control.
Yeah.
So target this after you've enchanted it, and boom, you're getting it back, and you're getting to flip the land.
Yeah, just based on the fact that limited is primarily creature battles, this is probably one of the better ones in this cycle. So I'm going to give it probably A minus to an A.
Yeah, I'll give it an A. I really like this one.
A as well here. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's continue on. All right, so moving on to Zakama, Primal Calamity. This is a 9 mana to hard cast. It's once again, it's an Elder Dinosaur. It has Naya, so basically 1 white, 1 green, and 1 red, and 6 colorless. It's a 9/9 with vigilance, reach, and trample. And when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, untap all lands you control. So its activated abilities, it has 3 of them, 1 for each color in its identity. So for 3 CMC with 1 red, it's going to deal 3 damage directly to a target creature. And its green version of this is basically a disenchant. It's going to destroy target artifact or enchantment. So that's like naturalize on a stick. It's the white ability will gain you 3 life for 3 mana. Similarly, what do you guys think about this?
So of course it costs 9 mana, which is a little cringy because that's a lot to put into it. But if you're playing dinosaurs, you probably have those ways to cheat it out early, either through mana ramp or through making them cost less. If you do pay 9 mana for this thing, like you tap 9 lands, you're getting to untap all your lands, and either play more dinosaurs or use its effects. So
You better not get this countered.
yeah, pretty much. Because it has to enter the battlefield. If you cast it, untap all your lands. So it does need to get on the battlefield before you're able to untap everything. But the payoff is so huge that I'm not gonna not play this card if I open it. It would even be a pack one pick one for me, just because I'd then base my deck around dinosaurs if possible.
What do you think?
I like it a lot. I like the ability to either play stuff from my hand after I get this out, or just activate every single effect that it has.
This is an obvious huge bomb.
Yeah.
So it's all contingent on if you open this card and you don't have dinosaur support to help cheat it out and get it out earlier. This is going to be something that you're just going to facepalm and be like, damn, my horrible luck.
Yeah.
So obviously, if your opens and your drafting skills allow you to get this card, hopefully you can cast it. I'm going to say probably A to an A plus bomb.
Now, if you get this out, if you get this in pack one, pack one pick one, and is your next priority ramp? Like is what is the next card? Are you gonna pick ramp over removal?
Yeah, either ramp or dinosaurs costing less mana for sure.
Yeah. So that's definitely next on your deck building.
Yeah.
Over removal even.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Early on, like first pack, I probably wouldn't worry too much about removal. I mostly worry about creatures, unless there's some really good removal spell. But for sure, I'd be going for ramp or any sort of lowering mana cost.
I would be probably hoping and praying that I get that 5 CMC green dinosaur that allows you to play an extra land per turn. That's going to do you huge favors in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So letter grades?
I'm going to give it an A, not an A plus, just because of how expensive it is.
Yeah.
A minus. I don't think I'll ever. I think I'll rarely even be able to get this out on the board. Even maybe more so in sealed, but in a draft format.
Yeah.
I think draft's a little bit quicker. It'll be nice to get on the board, but I think most of the time it'd be dead by then.
Possibly, yeah.
Next
or
up,
they'll be dead.
Yeah. Next up, we have Protean Raider. This is another Is It Gold card. 1 red, 1 blue, 1 colorless. It's a shapeshifter pirate. Interesting. It's a 2/2 for 3. Its raid trigger says if you attacked with a creature this turn, you may have Protean Raider enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. So choose wisely. You can only choose once. Is that correct?
As long as you can't flicker it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like this card. It's a cheaper clone effect.
You don't have to clone yours. You can clone anything on the battlefield.
Anything on the battlefield. Yeah.
Oh, man, they have a hostage taker. This is gonna be so bad to see them like your opponent play.
That would be the ultimate FU.
Yeah. No, I really like it. 3 mana for a 2/2. It's solid. Getting to turn it into one of your pirates is great. Turning it into a dinosaur, even better, probably. There's probably very rarely going to be a time where I had this in my hand and go, oh, shucks, I don't need this. So,
I have a question, though. So, they play the Tama, or this big guy that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Zakama. Yeah, they play him. You copy him. You're not casting him.
no, you wouldn't
So
get the
you wouldn't
untap.
be able to untap your lands. You would just get the 9 mana.
That's correct.
Okay.
Casting means you play it from your hand and you pay its cost.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're casting it as Protean Raider, but it enters the battlefield as whatever.
I'm gonna probably give this a B to a B plus.
I'm going to give it an A minus. I really do like it. Like if I'm going pirates and I see this card, it's an instant pick.
Yep.
Yeah.
A- here as well.
Next up, we have Siege Horn Ceratops. This is a 1 white, 1 red gold dinosaur. It's a 2/2 for 2. Its enrage says whenever it's dealt damage, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Helpful reminder text in this case because, just as it says, it must survive the damage to get both counters.
Mhm.
I think this is really good.
I love this card.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish, like, it's a Triceratops. I just wish it had, like, a 2/3 body. I'd even be willing to pay 1 more mana for that, because, like, that just makes it survive just a little bit more. But, again, if I were to see this in a pack, probably an instant pick. I think this card gets out of control very fast.
Yeah. Especially when you consider the amount of enrage support. This thing is just going to get huge. It's going to get huge.
If you put on that one enchantment where, you know, you give it +3/+0 and deal 1 damage, it's now going to be a 7/2? 7/4. It'd be a 7/4 trample, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absurd. That's awesome.
Well, it doesn't have trample.
Crown of Itlamok?
With the enchantment. That
Oh,
gives it +3/+0. Yeah.
Crown of Itlamok, right?
No, Crown of it's that.
I'm terrible with the names.
It's
No,
it's the Crown of Kinjali. No,
Yeah, that's it.
Kinjali's crowned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it for these colors now. So let's just quickly get into artifacts. All right, let's get into. Let's talk about Azor's Gateway. It's another flip card. This is a 2 CMC legendary artifact. You can pay 1 and tap it to draw a card, and then exile a card from your hand. If cards with 5 or more different converted mana costs are exiled with Azor's Gateway, you gain 5 life. You untap it and transform it. Seems hard to pull off. Its flip side turns into Sanctum of the Sun. It's a legendary land. You can tap it to add X mana of any one color to your mana pool, where X is your life total. Seems like a really good payoff, but this is going to be so hard to. You have to get 5 different CMC cards exiled with this thing.
I do like it on its own, though. Just being able to draw a card for 1 mana is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm correct, the way that one black card we saw earlier, where, you know, you can take a card from outside the game that you own,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that works with cards that are exiled as well, because they're outside the game now.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure you could get those back with that card, which just a little bit of, you know, synergy right there, which I do like. Not the only way I'd play this card, though. I do really like just being able to draw a card for 1 mana, exiling a card you don't really care about. You can also exile a land, right, to help with that 5 different CMC, because lands have a CMC of 0.
Mhm.
So you can go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 if you really wanted to.
You better have a really excellent curvy deck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but it's just.
Yeah, I think the flips of this card is just an upside to it, but I'd still probably play it if I got it just to draw.
I think this is more standard playability than like limited. Personally,
Possibly.
I wouldn't want to even try to get this thing to work. Like, what do you think, Mike?
In limited, I don't even know if I'd play it.
Yeah, like it's great that the first half is 2 and it's easy to play, but you have to draw a card and then exile a card, and sometimes you don't want to do that. Like, man, it's just.
I think the cost is a little bit high to draw,
It's 1 mana.
and a card that you have to exile.
Yeah, at
I
least you get
think.
to draw first before you choose what card you exile.
Yeah,
If it was
yeah.
the other way around, I think it would be bad. I can see where you guys are coming from, though. Like, you're only playing with 40 cards in limited.
What's the payoff for getting all that mana? Like, there aren't a lot of like. Are there any like sorcery like fireball style things that's going to allow you to just kill your opponent? Like, what's the payoff? Like, what's so good about having that much mana?
I'll go back to that one red card where you make elementals. That's
Oh,
about
right.
it. Like, I would play this in red, to be honest. Being able to just fix your draws is decent. But I can see where you guys are coming from, not wanting to play in limited, where you only have 40 cards to play with.
What?
I mean, and you get this out on turn 2. If you're lucky, it'll be turn 7 before this flips, and by then you'll probably be able to cast any dinosaurs that you would want to cast. It's just slow.
There are
Yeah.
better ways to cheat out dinos with like creatures that give you discounts.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you're by turn 7 when this flips, your life's gonna be pretty low. Probably.
Well, I guess that's why they put you get Wow, 5 life. So I mean, you could play this with that one white CMC combat trick that allows you to exile like maybe a big creature. I don't know. Like I just think there's so much cheap and go wide tribal support that playing this would be probably a big mistake in your main deck. I'm gonna give this probably a D to a D plus.
Yeah, I can see where you guys are coming from. I'm gonna give it a C plus, just because I really do like draw, and it's also called Azor's Gateway.
Yeah.
And I want to play it in a deck with Azor. You know, where
True.
you're just drawing like crazy.
That's very true.
D plus for me as well.
Okay.
Next up, we have the Immortal Sun. 6 mana legendary artifact. Players can't activate Planeswalker's loyalty abilities, and at the beginning of your draw step, you get to draw an additional card. And it's going to give you a global discount on all spells that you cast by 1, and it's going to give all of your creatures +1/+1.
I can
This
see
is
why,
pretty wicked.
I can
Oh,
see
yeah.
why he wanted it, because I want it too.
Yeah, it's a limited bomb. It's almost win more,
Yeah.
but the extra draw really makes a difference for the spells costing 1 less. So it's definitely worth it for 6 mana. You're getting so many different abilities there. The Planeswalker thing will hardly ever happen in limited, because Planeswalkers aren't often pulled, but it does happen. So it's definitely an upside. Of course, it affects you too, though, so you have to be very careful playing it. But this is a card I'd give an A minus, just because I love everything on the card. But it is 6 mana, so it's hard to cast.
I'm going to probably give it an A- as well. I would even consider it to be sideboard tech, especially when you consider that it's taking up 1 slot, it's 6 mana. It's going to give, sure, it'll give you a global discount and an extra card draw, but you know what? What I should have said is it's sideboard tech if you're running your own Planeswalkers. Let's just like say that to clarify.
Otherwise, main board.
I mean, it's 1 more mana than Vanquisher's banner. Vanquisher's banner is 5 CMC, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Your spells won't cost 1 less,
Yeah, I know.
but you will draw cards from playing those creatures of a certain type, and they get +1/+1.
I would say this is best used in a dinosaur and a humans sort of a thing.
I would use it in almost every tribe. I think every
Yeah.
tribe, to be honest. But yeah, I see what you mean.
Because
this is better than Venture's Banner.
I think
Oh, yeah.
I think this is meant to be played in just like large like dinosaur decks, because as I said before, a lot of the cards that give, or even those like crazy like 2-drop mana sink humans that give other creatures you control a huge bonus, it's going to keep those alive,
Right.
and it's going to make all of your future creature spells 1 less, and it's just going to help you get over some kind of a board stall and allow you to draw more gas.
Right.
Get a Vanquisher's Banner out turn 5, get this out turn 6. Oh,
Yeah, that would be the dream, wouldn't it? But I don't think it's going to work out that way.
No.
So yeah, A- to A.
I give it a B plus. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And once you play it, they're going to slide in some artifact hate.
That's very true. Yeah, let's move on to Awakened Amalgam. This is a 4 mana artifact creature golem. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of differently named lands you control. Okay, so I guess you play this in 5-color good stuff?
Yeah, I'm never going to play this in limited. At best, it's a 3/3 for 4 mana, because I'm not going to go beyond that. I can't even see this seeing any play in standard, to be honest.
Yeah, like it's just too much effort. It's way too slow, and just think about all the effort you're going to need to flip all of those legendary enchantments that you're going to hypothetically put in a limited deck.
Right.
This is impossible to play.
Yeah, like if it had trample, then I'd see it played in standard because of all the
Deserts?
the non-basics. Like there would be a lot of different named lands, but it doesn't have trample, so it's just a big body that you're trying really hard to get. So I don't
Maybe
like
with
it.
some Kaladesh support in standard, there could be some interesting deck we haven't that we might have like overlooked. But
That's true.
For limited F,
Yeah, for limited and F for sure.
Yeah, fuck that. It's almost like the Gilded Sentinel from Ixalan.
yeah,
Uh,
way just really really hard to make use of. Next up, we have Captain's Hook. This is a 3 mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, has menace. Wow, that's good, and is a pirate in addition to its other creature types. However, the downside is whenever Captain's Hook becomes unattached from a permanent, it gets destroyed. So this kind of harkens back to the Stitcher's Graft from Eldritch Moon. It's a lot easier. I think it's the exact same cost too. Yeah, through 3 mana to play, and you get to equip it for 1. This is really good if you are obviously playing pirates.
Nah, I'm gonna put it in my dinosaur decks just to have like a T-Rex with the little fucking
Tiny claw hand.
Tiny claw hand. Yeah, oh yeah. This is something I'm gonna put in all my decks, even if it's bad.
I don't think it's bad, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
there's a lot of
yeah.
flying pirates that I put this on because then it gets menace and +2/+0, and I'm probably never going to want to move that, from a flyer anyway. So, I think I would definitely play this one.
Yeah, obviously it's really pretty vulnerable against the naturalized sideboard like Artifact Hate, but I don't think you need to worry about that. This would really complement a like Grixis Pirates sort of a deck because it'll help out Admiral Beckett Brass's like Winmore sort of like clause on her card, and it's also going to go well with the like Pirates like Saber artifact thing too.
I disagree with you about Admiral Beckett Brass's being Winmore. By turn 3, you're probably going to have, when you play her, you're probably going to have 3 pirates swinging in. They might not even have a creature out on turn 3.
Sorry, you're not arguing with me, you're agreeing with me. I'm just saying it makes it easier to get that
Yeah,
one
true,
more.
fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, so next up we have Golden Guardian. Wait, did we just assign a letter grade?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
I'd give it an A-. I really do like it, but I'd only really play it in pirates. Maybe in dinosaurs. Not even only just for a joke, but I mean it is giving menace, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
I would put it on our flying vampire.
Well, yeah, flying vampire too. That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna give it. That can protect maybe a key legendary creature from that two damage to each non-pirate kind of spell.
Dude,
Yeah.
it would even be great on that unblockable merfolk. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely.
just it's cheap to attach, and like if the thing dies, just attach it to something else.
Yeah. Letter grade probably A- or B+.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it B+.
Next up we have Golden Guardian. This is a 4-mana golem that flips into a land. It's a 4/4 defender for 4, and it has an activated ability for 2 colorless, and Golden Guardian will fight another target creature you control. Okay, and when Golden Guardian dies, you basically return it to the battlefield flipped into the Gold Forge Garrison, which can give you 2. It can fix for 2 mana of any one color to your mana pool, and you get to for 4 tap it and create 1 more 4/4 colorless golem artifacts.
Holy crap! I think this card is really good. I haven't seen a defender that I've liked in a long time,
Yeah.
and this is it. Like, it's a defender, but it's gonna tussle with something. You want it to die, but it also doesn't have to. 2 mana to kill a creature constantly, or
Another
even just
target creature you control.
I see. Okay, so a little worse, but I still like it.
And you have to you have to pay the 2 cost
Yeah.
to
Fight.
No. Say you use it as a defender, somebody attacks you, kills it. It's not going to
Oh,
transform.
that's right. So you would almost use it after combat, so to make it like more easily killable.
Yeah, you could block with it, and then you could fight one of your own creatures.
Obviously, a dinosaur.
Yeah, you could also play this in that green black deck that might be a thing limited where
Right,
you're
with that legendary enchantment.
yeah. So it definitely has a place. I didn't notice the you control part, but I still really like this card. I think it's really strong. Once it flips, you're getting 2 mana land, or you're making a 4/4 every turn.
Yeah, this is
That's
a really good wall. And remember, so you do have to use the fight. It can't just die normally and flip. You have to use that ability because, as it so clearly says, when Golden Guardian dies this turn.
Yeah.
All right, so it's kind of it might be a little tricky to flip, but at least it's a 4/4 for 4.
And once it flips, oh my god.
You're gonna go wide.
Your opponent's in trouble. You're
Yeah.
making 4/4 every turn.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna give this a B-.
I will give it a solid B. I can see where you're coming from with the B- because you do have to target something you control, but I don't think that will be hard to flip this thing at all.
I think this is great in a dinosaur deck. I think it's great in a deck that's with something that has a butt big enough to eat the 4 damage. if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So more often than not, you're going to be having it fight one of your 5 toughness dinos within rage, obviously.
Yeah.
Or a merfolk with like 3 or 4 counters on it.
True.
Yeah. Or the 3/5 dinosaur where you enrage, you gain 2 life, right? As
Yeah.
long as this blocks something, it's going to die, and your dinosaur will live.
Very true. I think this is the last rare. This is Silent Gravestone. It's a 1 mana artifact that reads, cards in graveyards can't be the targets of spells or abilities, and you can tap and pay 4 to exile Silent Gravestone and all cards from graveyards, and you get to draw a card. Well, you're not going to play this in limited. This is meant for standard.
Yeah, it's meant for standard, especially against the Amonkhet cards. The only time I could see this in limited is against the green-black deck again, but when it comes to that aura enchantment, they're still going to get their creature back, but when the land flips, then they wouldn't be able to return things.
Yeah.
So they're still getting a benefit from it. Silent Gravestone isn't that great. At least you're drawing a card if you do the exile portion of this card, but it's not that amazing. So I'm going to go with a C-.
Yeah, it's also not that amazing in standard for the reason that it's not gonna do what you think it does when it comes to the embalm trigger with God Pharaoh's Gift.
Why wouldn't it?
Why wouldn't it?
Because it's not like, so basically what God Pharaoh's Gift does is you may exile. It says you may exile. It doesn't say God Pharaoh's Gift exiles. It's just you exiling something.
But it says target. So
It doesn't say target. It says you may.
God Pharaoh's Gift doesn't say target on its text.
Really?
Yeah, it
Oh
just says
my.
yeah. It.
Okay, so yeah, this is not good.
I think it says choose target card in your
No,
graveyard.
you may exile a card in a graveyard.
Yeah.
And so although you essentially are targeting something, it's missing
doesn't say
the
target.
target keyword. I
Yeah.
think Wizards should,
It
clarify
says you may
that.
exile a creature card from your graveyard. It doesn't say target. So
Okay, yeah. So I think because you essentially are targeting something, right? Like, I think Wizards should clarify that.
I
think
still would play this against God Pharaoh's Gift though. It's
Because
slower
of Scarab God.
because of Scarab God, but also just because of the 4 mana portion of this card.
Yeah,
Yes.
You can
exile.
still respond by exiling everything.
Yeah, as an instant, and
Yeah.
then they can't bring anything back anyway. Okay, yeah.
It's just not as good as I thought it was at first against God Pharaoh's Gift, but I'd still
Yeah.
sideboard it
Yeah.
against them.
Okay.
This is the last card. It's the single rare land in this set. It's called the Arch of Orazka. This is going to this is like one more sort of Ascend or City's Blessing Matters cards. If you control 10 or more permanents, of course, you get the City's Blessing. Normally, it taps for 1 colorless mana, or you can spend 5, tap it to draw a card, and you can only do that if you have the City's Blessing. So, this is all right if you have the right support in your deck.
Yeah, I would play it if I'm in Vampires or whatever. Like if I were to see it in a pack, I'd pick it because producing 1 colorless isn't that bad if it's just taking up 1 slot in your lands.
Yeah.
And then eventually it does have an upside. It's a late game upside, but sometimes late game you really need that card draw. So
Yeah.
In Vampires, maybe even in Merfolk, I'd play this card. It's nothing amazing, but it's a decent card to play.
Pretty playable in EDH as well when you consider
Ascend is very easy to trigger in EDH, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty vanilla.
I think it. Wizards, if you're gonna print rares, make them good.
They don't do that. They don't always
I
do
mean,
that.
the deserts are better than this, and they're not rares. The activated abilities on deserts blow this out of the water.
This is a limited. This is meant for limited or like EDH.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that it sucks.
Yeah.
As a rare, I could see this.
Wizards prints uncommon rares, and this is probably going to be one of them where
Yeah.
you end up getting this a lot.
Yeah, this is something that I don't really want to see in my packs. It's just.
Hey man, in pre-release, it's based on what you open, and you might actually see yourself playing this in the scenarios that Desmond talked.
Yeah,
talked
if I
about.
get this as a promo, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw
That's
something at the wall
I'm gonna
too.
kill myself. Okay.
All right, so letter grades.
C-.
Yeah, C- to D+.
D. Fuck this card.
Wow. You're just a ray of sunshine, aren't you, Mike?
I gotta take a shit pretty badly. So
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks, guys. This has been the conclusion to Rivals of Ixalan. Thank you for listening to this really long episode. Until next time. Cheers. Like and subscribe.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
see ya.
Bye.